Chapter 660. It's time to leave. Feiren put the small piece of Yunling bone into the spirit ring on his finger. Now that he had gotten what he wanted, there was no need for him to stay in the ancient city. After all, this was only the periphery of the Emperor's pit. If he wanted to quickly improve his cultivation and hone his yin-yang Dao technique and mental strength, Feiren needed to go deeper into the Emperor's pit, which was even more dangerous. In a private room on the second floor of the auction, brother, look, the Yunling bone that our family treasured has been sold. Seeing Feiren spend 10 million upper-grade primordial stones to buy the Yunling bone, He Lily shook He Hanqing's arm excitedly with a trace of surprise on her pretty face. Although she knew that the value of her family's treasure was not low, 10 million upper-grade primordial stones was not a small amount. The value of this Yunling bone was beyond He Lily's imagination. It turns out that this piece of broken bone is so valuable. No wonder those old guys in the family hid it every day and refused to show it easily. He Lily thought to herself. It's him. Not only is he powerful, but he can also see the true value of the Yunling bone. This person really has an extraordinary background. Seeing that the person who bought the Yunling bone was Feiren, He Hanqing was also slightly surprised. The scene of him killing Black Whirlwindly Bai in the city was still vivid in his mind. Sister, let's go. He Hanqing turned around and rushed out of the door. Hey, brother, what are you doing? Wait for me. Seeing He Hanqing suddenly leave, He Lily was also a little surprised and then quickly followed. In front of the exit of the auction venue, Your Excellency, please wait. Just as Feiren was about to leave, a man's voice came from the distance. The next moment 2 figures, one tall and one short, descended from the sky and slowly landed in front of Feiren. It was the He siblings. Who are you? Looking at the He siblings in front of him, Feiren was a little confused. He had no impression of the two of them and had never met them before. It was obvious that they were not enemies that he had provoked in the past. Could it be that I'm too handsome? You can attract the attention of beauties wherever you go, and beautiful women will throw themselves at you? Feiren thought to himself as he glanced at the petite and adorable ponytailed He Lily beside him. His lips curled into a smile. She had a delicate oval face and a graceful figure. Although she wasn't very tall, she was still a beauty. Hey, what are you giggling about? He Lily furrowed her brows when she saw the other party's expression and said in annoyance. In her opinion, why did the Feiren in front of her look a little wretched? He had been staring at her from the very beginning. The other party didn't look like a supermundane expert who could take out 10 million upper-grade primordial stones and spend a fortune to buy the spirit-gathering bone. Oh! You won't even let me laugh? Little girl, you're quite a busybody. In the face of He Lily's questioning, Feiren shrugged indifferently with a look that said, What can you do about it? Hey, why are you? Sister, don't be rude. Seeing that the other party was still smiling mischievously, He Lily was a little annoyed. Just as she was about to say something, she was interrupted by He Hanqing, who was beside her. Sir, please forgive her. My sister has been pampered since she was young. She was a little rude earlier. He Hanqing cupped his hands towards Feiren and said helplessly. It's fine, it's fine. Compared to this, who are you guys? Why are you looking for me? In the face of He Hanqing's politeness, Feiren waved his hand and went straight to the point. My name is He Hanqing. This is my sister, He Lily. We are all from the He family in Tianfeng City, thousands of miles away. We are here to ask for your help. Seeing this, He Hanqing didn't beat around the bush and said directly. Tianfeng City, He family? Feiren touched his chin. Although he had never heard of the latter, Tianfeng City was considered a relatively famous city in the periphery of the Emperor's pit. Usually, there were many martial artists who came and went. It was considered a strategic town at the border. From this, it could be inferred that the He family behind He Hanqing and He Lily should also be a powerful force in Tianfeng City. My name is Fei Ren. Collecting his thoughts, Fei Ren nodded as a response and said, Your He family's territory is in Tianfeng City. Why did you come all the way here to find help? And why did you think of me? Brother Fei, you must be joking. Brother, you must have bought this spirit-accumulating bone to increase your mind power. And those who can use this spirit-accumulating bone are basically talented array masters or alchemists. He Hanqing's face gradually became serious, and he said slowly, To be honest, a few months ago, my father, He Zhenwu, left Tianfeng City to search for treasures, but unfortunately, he fell into an ancient array. This array is extremely dangerous, and ordinary people can't break through it. And our He family just happens to lack an array master with strong mind power. As long as brother breaks the array and saves my father, I will definitely reward you greatly in the future. As long as you can save my father, no matter what conditions you have, we can agree to them. You can choose any of the resources and primordial stones in the He family's treasury. On the side, He Lily also pursed her lips and said with a determined expression. Hearing this, Fei Ren was stunned for a moment and his face was a little confused. You seem to be mistaken about something. Although the spirit-accumulating bone is very rare, this treasure has no benefit for increasing a martial artist's mind power. I'm not an array master, I'm just an alchemist, and my mind power has not broken through the Earthgate realm, and is only at the level 9 realm. I'm afraid I can't help you much. Facing the He siblings' request, Fei Ren was a little embarrassed. The spirit-accumulating bone contained rich heaven and earth spirit chi, which could help the puppet Little White complete its evolution, and also help a martial artist reconstruct their physical body. However, it had no benefit in terms of mind power. In addition, although array and alchemy both relied on the strength of one's mind power, the cultivation methods of the two were completely different. The He siblings in front of him obviously mistook Fei Ren for an array master. How could this be? Sigh. Seeing this, He Hanqing's face revealed a touch of disappointment, and he sighed heavily. Brother, don't be sad. At most, we'll just continue to look for help. He Lily tugged at her brother's arm worriedly, and said in a heartbroken tone, Actually, I can help you, but I have a condition. After this is done, what does the He family plan to give me in return? After a moment of silence, Fei Ren spoke again. Although he did not know much about arrays, the conditions that the He siblings offered were too tempting. Moreover, an ancient array that could trap the He family's patriarch, He Zhenwu, a veteran mystique venerable rank expert, must be of a high grade. There might be other opportunities within, so Fei Ren wanted to explore it personally. Brother Fei, don't worry. Just name the price. Whether it's pills, cultivation methods, primordial stones, herbs, or treasures. As long as the He family can take out a treasure, we'll give it to you with both hands. Oh right, these 10 million high-grade primordial stones are the deposit. Seeing that the other party had agreed to help, He Hanqing was a little excited. Then, he took out a high-grade spirit ring and handed it to Fei Ren. This was the reward he received from selling the small piece of spirit-gathering bone, and now it was returned to its rightful owner. I didn't expect that after going around in circles, these primordial stones would return to me in the end. Reaching out to take the spirit ring, Fei Ren's expression was filled with emotion. He did not spend a single cent and picked up a piece of spirit-gathering bone for free. Moreover, the He family had promised him a reward and conditions. This deal was indeed worth it. Fei Ren, are you confident? That's a heaven-defying array that has been passed down since ancient times. Even a mystique venerable rank expert like my father couldn't break it with brute force. It's extremely dangerous. He Lily could not help but ask from the side. After all, the large amount of cultivation resources and treasures in their family's treasury did not fall from the sky. Now that they were giving it to Fei Ren for free, she felt a little heartache. Miss He, I can't guarantee 100%, but I can give it a try. Moreover, if you don't trust me, we can call off this deal. Fei Ren smiled and said lightly. Chapter 661. It was true that Fei Ren did not have a deep understanding of formations. However, no matter how many changes there were, it was still the same. Whether it was setting up a formation or breaking one, it would test the strength of a martial artist's mind power, and there was generally a pattern to it. Even a martial artist who knew nothing about formations could still use force to break the formation as long as their mind power was strong enough. In other words, they could use external force to destroy the core of the formation and at the same time break the internal cycle of the formation, thus achieving the effect of breaking the formation. In Fei Ren's view, although the ancient formation that trapped Hijinwu was very dangerous and very powerful, it was very old. It was very likely left behind before the formation of the Emperor's Pit in the Desolate Era. Now, the spirit qi in the formation was almost exhausted, and its power was less than 10%. Therefore, it was not impossible for him to break the formation, and there was at least a 50% chance. If Fei Ren's mind power could break through again and step into the lower level of Earthgate, the success rate of breaking the formation could rise to 70%. Sister, we should believe in Brother Fei, He Hanqing said. In his view, there was no more suitable candidate than Fei Ren. After all, Fei Ren had killed Black Whirlwind Li Bai, who was ranked 24th on the wicked list in the ancient city. This was enough to prove his strength. Moreover, not only was Fei Ren's cultivation strong, but he was also a 9th-grade alchemist, and his mind power was second only to an Earth-grade alchemist. If he broke the formation, the chances of saving the He family patriarch would greatly increase. It was better than the two of them standing helplessly in the ancient city of Emperor's Pit. Okay, brother, when do we leave? Seeing this, He Lily nodded obediently and no longer hesitated. Right now, she could only choose to believe in Fei Ren. Moreover, this matter could not be delayed to avoid trouble. Brother Fei, are we leaving tonight? He Hanqing turned to look at Fei Ren and probed, as if waiting for the other party's reaction. I'm fine with anything. Fei Ren grinned, indicating that he could leave at any time. Now that he had obtained the spirit bone, the most important thing was done. He was not in a hurry to help Little White evolve. As long as the high-level Mystique Venerables did not interfere, ordinary Martial Kings and Mystique Venerables would have no chance of snatching the treasure from him. Humph! However, just as the three of them were about to leave, another cold and furious shout came from afar. You want to leave? Not so easy. In the next moment, a black figure also landed on the ground out of thin air, revealing a sinister, thin, and pale face. His eyes were similarly filled with boundless killing intent. The person who had come was none other than Taoist Wu Qing, who was ranked 19th on the villain list. At this moment, he was looking at Fei Ren and the He siblings with a cold gaze, as if he was looking at a dead man. As expected, this guy is here. Fei Ren was not too surprised to discover that it was Taoist Wu Qing. He narrowed his eyes. Previously, in order to fight for the spirit bone at the auction, he had become enemies with Taoist Wu Qing. With Taoist Wu Qing's violent temperament, he naturally would not let it go so easily and let him go. Now, as expected, Taoist Wu Qing had come to kill Fei Ren. It was him, Taoist Wu Qing. At this moment, He Hanqing and He Lily also recognized Taoist Wu Qing's identity. It was obvious that he had come with ill intentions. Brother, why is it this fiend? What should we do? He Lily instinctively shrank into his arms, her beautiful eyes filled with panic. I heard that this stinky Taoist is a ruthless guy who kills without batting an eyelid. Even if the two of us work together, I'm afraid we're no match for him. Sister, don't panic. If the two of us work together with Brother Fei, we shouldn't be afraid of this guy. Although he was also nervous, He Hanqing forced himself to be calm and said, after all, it was not as if they had no chance of winning. Although their opponent was a Mystique Venerables expert, there was only one of them. You two step back first. I'll deal with this guy, however. To He Hanqing's surprise, Fei Ren suddenly stepped forward, his eyes flashing with fighting spirit. Brother Fei, you? He Hanqing was shocked. Was he planning to fight Taoist Wuqing alone? That was a level 2 Mystique Venerables expert. He was even stronger than Black Whirlwind Li Bai. Fei Ren waved his hand again. His face was still calm, as if he had a card up his sleeve. Good lad, you've got guts. Taoist Wuqing laughed instead of being angry. Looks like you also know that you're about to die. In Taoist Wuqing's opinion, his opponent was merely a level 7 Martial King Jr. No matter how talented or powerful he was, he would not be a match for him. Not to mention the difference in their origin power cultivation, he also had the life chart power unique to Mystique Venerables. It was enough to crush Fei Ren. This was the absolute difference between Mystique Venerables and Martial Kings. About to die. Fei Ren's lips curled into a mocking smile. Stupid Taoist, are you dreaming? We'll know if I have the strength to do so after we try. Swoosh. Fei Ren's eyes were serious. In the next moment, a large amount of powerful origin power surged out from his body. At the same time, strange purple lines spread out from his body at a speed visible to the naked eye. They formed a dragon-shaped pattern, as if a purple dragon was protecting his body. Overlord's demonic pattern. With his current cultivation, he could at most use 35 Overlord's demonic patterns at once. Its power was comparable to a level 1 Mystique Venerables expert's full-force attack. What a sharp-tongued B*****! Taoist Wuqing roared angrily. Unwilling to be outdone, he threw a punch at Fei Ren's head. Boom! 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 A large amount of origin power swept out as the fist energy tore through the air. At the same time, an ear-piercing sound was heard. It was obvious that Taoist Wuqing had used all his strength in this punch. He was determined to kill. Overlord's Mountain Splitter. In the face of Taoist Wuqing's attack, Fei Ren did not show any fear. He also threw a punch forward. The power of 35 Overlord's demonic patterns was instantly depleted. Boom! In an instant, the purple dragon roared out. The fist energy was like the wind. It was as if a divine dragon had descended from the heavens. Its power was vast and unstoppable. Boom! Their fists collided violently with a loud explosion. A large amount of origin power swept out in all directions. It was as if the entire sky was shaking and changing color. In an instant, dark clouds rolled and dust rose everywhere. What? This guy has such strength. When the two fists collided, Taoist Wuqing felt an intense pain between his thumb and forefinger. His expression changed slightly as shock appeared on his face. Could it be that his opponent was born with brute force? Fei Ren's punch had almost shattered his entire arm. If it were not for his rich origin power and his level 2 Mystique Venerables cultivation, his bones would have been shattered. Although his opponent's origin power cultivation was only at level 7 Martial King realm, the power of his punch was not weaker than any Mystique Venerables expert. This B*****. I can't let him live. Otherwise, my life will be in danger. At that thought, Taoist Wuqing's murderous intent intensified. Based on the talent and strength that his opponent had displayed, he could be considered a demonic martial artist. He was not weaker than some of the ancient families in the northern continent and the prides of the super sections. If he did not kill Fei Ren now, he would be letting the tiger return to the mountain. He would definitely be a huge threat in the future. Chapter 662. Die. Just as Taoist Wuqing was distracted, Fei Ren pulled out the star-shattering blade from his back. Specks of cold light and the power of stars gathered, and he slashed out again. His attack was swift and fierce. Astral slash. The power of the spiritual tattoo exploded, and in an instant, the blade aura swept out. Streaks of sky-blue blade aura also shot out from all directions, attacking Taoist Wu Qing's vital point. The power of this attack was not any weaker than the Overlord Mountain Splitter from before. It was also one of Fei Ren's trump cards to kill his enemies. With the power of the Overlord Demonic Tattoo, Fei Ren was not at a disadvantage in the previous attack. Instead, he had a slight advantage. However, his opponent was a level 2 Mystique Venerable Realm martial artist after all. His origin power cultivation was above his, so he would not underestimate his opponent. A lion would use all its strength even when hunting a rabbit. You want to kill me with just a little kid like you? What a joke. Seeing that Fei Ren's attack contained boundless murderous intent, Taoist Wu Qing roared and put his palms together. In an instant, his origin power surged. Bright King Golden Body. A gray horsetail whisk suddenly appeared in front of Taoist Wu Qing. Buzz. In the next moment, the gray horsetail whisk disappeared and merged into his body. At the same time, rays of golden light enveloped Taoist Wu Qing's body like a golden shield, protecting him within. Clang! Clang! Rumble! The biting cold blade aura violently slashed on the golden shield, producing an ear-piercing sound of metal clashing. Sparks flew in all directions, but it could not break through the golden shield. Not even a crack was left on it. Humph! That's all you got. After blocking Fei Ren's fatal attack, Taoist Wu Qing pushed his hands up and slowly removed the golden shield around him. Whoosh! In the next moment, the gray horsetail whisk that had disappeared returned to his hand. It seemed to be Taoist Wu Qing's natal spiritual treasure. At the same time, it was also the key to casting the golden shield. Its grade was not low either. Little B** starred, looks like you're quite capable. Holding the gray horsetail whisk with his left hand, Taoist Wu Qing showed a cold smile on his pale face. Fei Ren, a mere LV7 Martial King realm martial artist, was able to force him to use his natal spiritual treasure. Fei Ren could be called a peerless genius. However, in his eyes, Fei Ren was already a dead man. What kind of martial arts is that? Seeing that his opponent was unharmed, Fei Ren frowned slightly. With a wave of his hand, the star-shattering blade returned to his body. His expression was somewhat solemn. Both of them were notorious ruthless people on the villain list. However, Taoist Wu Qing was clearly more difficult to deal with than Black Whirlwind Li Bai, whom he had met before. The power of the Overlord Devil pattern has been exhausted, and it won't be able to condense it again in a short period of time. Even if it's condensed, 1 or 2 Overlord Devil patterns is still too little, and it won't be able to do anything to this stinking Taoist. As for the Stellar Origin Slash, I'm afraid it can only be used as a feint. Fei Ren rolled his eyes and quickly thought of a countermeasure. Using brute force against a level 2 Mystique Venerable Realm martial artist was obviously a bad idea. The only way to win was to use wits. Don't you have any more trump cards? Taoist Wu Qing smiled coldly when he saw that Fei Ren was still standing on the spot without any intention of running away. In the next moment, he flicked his sleeve and took out a wrinkled yellow talisman. He muttered, "This poor Taoist will let you die a quick death." 5 Thunder Righteous Technique. Urgent as the law commands. Thunder Summoning. Taoist Wu Qing roared and pointed a finger at the sky. Sizzle! 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 The talisman in his hand instantly turned into ashes. In the next moment, a large amount of thunderbolt energy surged out from Taoist Wu Qing's body. The majestic thunderbolt energy instantly enveloped an area of 100 meters. For a moment, the entire sky and earth were enveloped as if they were in a heavenly thunder domain. Rumble! The large amount of thunderbolt energy was like purple lightning snakes that let out ear-piercing roars. It was extremely terrifying. This is the power of the birth chart. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren's eyelids twitched slightly. He instantly knew that things were not going well. From the majestic thunderbolt energy that enveloped him, it was the first time he felt the aura of death approaching. Summoning the thunderbolt energy between heaven and earth for one's own use. This was called thunder summoning. Clearly, this was the power of Taoist Wu Qing's birth chart. It was completely different from Black Whirlwind Li Bai's shadow clone. The power of Taoist Wu Qing's birth chart was clearly more domineering and powerful. Taoist Wu Qing pointed a finger in the air again. In the next moment, a large number of purple lightning snakes flew toward Fei Ren. "Brother Fei, watch out!" At the side, He Hanqing's expression changed drastically as he let out a low cry. Although he was only a half-step mystique venerable and could not interfere in a battle of this level, he was equally nervous and worried about Fei Ren's safety. After all, if Fei Ren was done for, the siblings would not be able to leave alive, let alone save his father. Taoist Wu Qing was a villain who killed without batting an eyelid. Vitality devouring token. At this juncture of life and death, Fei Ren did not have time to think too much. He formed the Overlord's demonic tattoo again and took out a green token. Strange patterns were engraved on the green token. It was the vitality-devouring token that Wu Yong had given him to save his life before he left Thunder City. This item could be activated with origin energy and could withstand a full-force attack from anyone below level 3 Mystique Venerable Realm. Buzz. Fei Ren held the vitality-devouring token tightly in his palm and channeled origin energy into it. In the next moment, a large amount of green light appeared on the token. It was as if the earth had awakened and turned into a large ancient forest, covering a radius of a few hundred meters. Boom, 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 rumble. Countless purple thunderbolts fiercely smashed on the ancient forest, transformed from the yuan-devouring token like a heavy rain. Rumbling and exploding noises could be heard everywhere, and could not be heard for a moment. On one side was the heavenly lightning realm. On the other side was the vitality realm. It was as if the two realms were the extremes of each other. It was very strange. What kind of spiritual treasure is this? It's so powerful that it can even block the heavenly lightning. Looking at this scene, He Hanqing and He Lily were also dumbfounded, their eyes filled with surprise. Not only could it fight a level 2 Mystique Venerable Realm expert head-on, but it could also ignore the life chart power exclusive to Mystique Venerable Realm experts. Fei Ren had once again refreshed their understanding of martial arts geniuses. Is this kid a monster? He Lily's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. After some time, the large amount of lightning snakes that were wreaking havoc in the surroundings gradually receded and the sky returned to normal. After that, the power of the vitality-devouring token was also exhausted. The large amount of ancient forest that was formed by the token quickly withered and turned into a large amount of dead wood at a speed visible to the naked eye until it was blown away by the wind. In the next moment, Fei Ren's figure appeared in front of everyone again. He was not swallowed by the large amount of purple lightning snakes from before. Although he was lucky not to die, he looked a little haggard. His right hand that was holding the star-shattering sword could not stop trembling and his face was a little pale. Cough, cough, cough! So this is the Taoist talisman that's supported by the life chart power. It's really powerful. Fortunately, I have the vitality-devouring token that Wu Yong gave me. Otherwise, I would have been done for. After escaping death, Fei Ren reached out to wipe the blood that seeped out of the corner of his mouth with a face full of fear. His entire body was charred black and his gray robe was tattered. His hair was disheveled and he looked extremely haggard. He looked like a human-shaped charcoal that had just been dug out of a coal mine. Thanks to the vitality-devouring token, Fei Ren did not die on the spot after being hit by the heavenly lightning. He only suffered some superficial injuries and his origin power aura was still as strong as before. Chapter 663. Not far away, the raging lightning energy gradually dissipated. What? That little B** didn't die. Taoist Wu Qing was stunned when he saw that Fei Ren did not die in his lightning territory. With his rank 2 mystique, venerable realm cultivation base, and the powerful destructive power of the lightning fate, he could not do anything to a rank 7 martial king realm junior. At that moment, Taoist Wu Qing's heart was filled with unease. If he really let Fei Ren escape today, he would definitely die a horrible death in the future with the terrifying talent and strength that he had displayed. Looks like I've disappointed you. I didn't die. Fei Ren looked up at Taoist Wu Qing, who was not far away, with a calm expression. Boom! In the next moment, wisps of pink flames appeared in Fei Ren's energy center. It was the spiritual fire, the colored glass flame. Although the colored glass flame was usually used by him to refine pills, it also had the power to kill. However, it was slightly weaker and could not fight against a mystique venerable realm expert. It could only be used as a feint. Go! Fei Ren flicked his finger, and in the next moment, the colored glass flame flew out. Swoosh! 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 In the blink of an eye, it turned into a large number of flames and surged toward Taoist Wu Qing from all directions. A terrifying wave of heat also rushed toward him. Spiritual fire? He Han Qing was shocked. The other party was indeed a rank 9 alchemist. It was rare to see him control such a rare flame. At that moment, he could not help but be more curious about Fei Ren's background. In He Hanqing's opinion, to be able to cultivate a peerless genius like Fei Ren, the force behind him was at least a rank 3 top family or a supersect. The foundation of the force was not to be underestimated. This kid has a spiritual fire? Who is he? Lily, who was standing at the side, was equally shocked. Her beautiful eyes flickered with a strange light. Just like the pharmacist profession, the spiritual fire that existed in the world was extremely rare. Moreover, it was not easy to control. If one wanted to devour the spiritual fire for their own use, the test for the pharmacist's own spiritual power was extremely harsh. Those who were careless could even lose their lives. Therefore, the majority of alchemists might spend their entire lives using the pill fire that was born within their bodies. The pill fire's effect was minimal, and its grade was low. Spiritual fires were generally divided into mortal fire, beast fire, spiritual fire, mystic fire, heavenly fire, and the legendary sacred fire. Right now, Fei Ren actually possessed a wisp of spiritual fire grade glazed fire, which was already extremely rare. A mere spirit fire can't hurt me at all. Taoist Heartless snorted when he saw Fei Ren take out the glaze flame. He also threw out the gray dust in his hand. Strands of origin energy gathered again, forming an invisible origin energy wall to protect himself. Although he had used up too much of his elemental energy and was no longer able to use the golden body of Wisdom King, Taoist Heartless' defense was still very strong. Little White. Fei Ren raised his hand and wiped the spirit ring on his finger. In the next moment, he summoned the puppet, Little White, which had not appeared for a long time. Although Taoist Heartless had used up a lot of his origin energy due to the frequent use of the lightning fate chart, and his strength had dropped from its peak state, he was still a level 2 mystique venerable realm expert. To Fei Ren, Taoist Heartless was still a strong opponent that could not be underestimated. Crack! Crack! A white light flashed on his fingertip, and a tall and cold white skeleton puppet appeared out of thin air. The white skeleton puppet exuded a domineering aura. At this moment it was covered in thick, pure white armor. Visible veins could be seen on its body. Although the top of its head was still bald, it was beginning to take on a human form. Clearly, Little White was still lacking an opportunity before it could evolve. This was also the reason why Fei Ren had spent so much effort to find the spirit bone. A Martial King Realm puppet? Taoist Heartless was stunned when he saw Fei Ren summon another puppet after easily blocking the Glaze Flame's attack. Then, a look of disdain appeared on his pale face. Child's play. He was a level 2 Mystique Venerable Realm expert. A mere Martial King Realm puppet could not do anything to him. It was useless. Go! Fei Ren had a thought. In the next moment, Little White brandished its huge bone blade and charged toward Taoist Heartless. He knew that Little White and the Glaze Flame alone were not enough to kill Taoist Heartless. These were just feints. Fei Ren had not used the real killer move yet. Boom! An earth-shattering sound was heard. In the next moment, Little White was also sent flying by Taoist Heartless' palm strike. Its bones instantly shattered and it was no longer human. It could not even block a single attack from its opponent. The gap between their realms was still too big. Astral Slash. Fei Ren used all the remaining origin energy in his body and swung the star-shattering blade again, slashing out a piercingly cold blade gleam. The blade gleam pierced through the air and went straight for Taoist Heartless' face, intending to split him into two and slash him on the spot. Clang! Taoist Heartless blocked the blade with both hands. His expression was fierce. Brat, you've run out of moves, right? That's not necessarily true. A cold laugh was heard. What? Taoist Heartless' expression changed slightly. In the next moment, Fei Ren's figure flashed before him like a ghost. Taoist Heartless could not react in time due to the close proximity and the fact that he had used up too much of his origin energy. Divine Cauldron! Devour! Fei Ren's lips curled into a mocking smile. In the next moment, the Divine Refining Cauldron, which had been silent for a long time, appeared out of thin air and imprinted itself on Taoist Heartless' chest. At that moment it was emitting an endless devouring power, making it impossible for Taoist Heartless to escape. What kind of spiritual treasure is this? Taoist Heartless panicked when he realized that he could not escape from the Divine Refining Cauldron's devouring power and that the little origin energy in his body was rapidly draining. He mustered all his strength and threw a palm strike toward Fei Ren's heart meridian. Little B** starred die. Bang! Poochie! After his heart meridian was severely injured, Fei Ren's face turned slightly red. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and his expression instantly became extremely dispirited. However, he still did not let go. At the same time, the Divine Refining Cauldron continued to devour Taoist Heartless' origin energy, as well as his remaining life essence. Yin Yang Daoart, reverse Yin and Yang. Blood continued to flow out from the corner of his mouth. Fei Ren gritted his teeth and endured the pain in his chest, as well as his broken body that was about to fall apart. He once again used the Yin Yang Daoart to repair his injuries. An illusory Taiji Yin-Yang diagram enveloped Fei Ren's body. Even though his heart meridian had been shattered by Taoist Heartless' palm strike, he still maintained his undying state. Moreover, his injuries were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. It could be said to be a miracle. You. At this moment, Taoist Heartless' lips were pale and his fingers were trembling. He was almost unable to speak. At this moment, he was looking at Fei Ren in front of him with a face full of horror, as if he was a terrifying devil. Not only his origin energy, but his life essence had also been forcibly taken away by the Divine Refining Cauldron. At this moment, his entire face and body had aged by dozens of years in an instant. It was as if he was about to die. Bang! After a while, Taoist Heartless was also forcefully sucked dry by the Divine Refining Cauldron. His corpse fell to the ground. Buzz! After absorbing Taoist Heartless' life essence and origin energy, Fei Ren's origin energy cultivation also rose. He broke through the shackles in one fell swoop, and his aura soared as he stepped into LV8 Martial King Realm. LV8 Martial King Realm. After letting go of Taoist Heartless' corpse, Fei Ren collapsed to the ground. Although his face was full of exhaustion, there was a hint of joy in his eyes. Chapter 664. Fei Ren had killed Black Whirlwind Li Bai and Taoist Heartless. The two infamous mystique, venerable rank experts on the Wicked Roll had both died at Fei Ren's hands. After absorbing the origin energy and life essence of the two mystique, venerable rank experts, his origin energy cultivation had finally broken through the shackles and advanced to the next level. With his origin energy cultivation reaching LV8 Martial King Realm, Fei Ren's strength had also increased by a large margin. I've finally broken through. With my current strength and cultivation, the number of Overlord demonic tattoos in my body will increase by quite a bit. Fei Ren breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Now, even if he did not use the Overlord demonic tattoos and the star-shattering knife, he had the ability to fight against a LV1 mystique, venerable rank martial artist. With all his trump cards, he was confident that he could fight a LV3 mystique, venerable rank martial artist head-on. With LV8 Martial King Realm cultivation, he could fight a LV3 mystique, venerable rank martial artist head-on. He had crossed 5 small realms and 1 big realm. If he said this, not many people would believe him. Dead. Taoist Heartless is really dead. Not far away, the He siblings were dumbfounded and shocked when they saw Taoist Heartless being sucked dry by Fei Ren on the spot and his corpse turning into dust. Taoist Heartless, who was ranked 19th on the Wicked Roll and was a LV2 Mystique Venerable rank expert, who was infamous around the Imperial Pit ancient city, had died at the hands of a nobody like Fei Ren? If they had not seen it with their own eyes, the two of them would not have believed their eyes. Brother Fei's strength is too strong. He Hanqing secretly swallowed his saliva. Even someone as strong as Taoist Heartless could not do anything to Fei Ren even if he used his natal spiritual treasure and life chart power. He was still killed by a sliver of blood, just like Black Whirlwind Li Bai, who had been beheaded earlier. Obviously, Fei Ren was not an ordinary person. He was a true dragon among men, a hero of the age. Brother, looks like father can be saved. Lily also let out a cry of surprise. In her opinion, the other party's strength was so strong, and he was also a level 9 alchemist. His spiritual energy was strong and profound. He should have a way to break the ancient formation that trapped her father, He Jinwu. Brother Fei, I didn't expect that even the Heartless Taoist was no match for you. After regaining his senses, He Hanqing hurriedly walked forward and clasped his hands together in a very polite manner. Behind him was the mischievous He Lily. At this moment, she was staring at Fei Ren with a gaze of admiration. Her attitude was completely different from before. For a moment, Fei Ren felt a little uncomfortable. How did this last change so much all of a sudden? Seeing this scene, Fei Ren secretly laughed in his heart. In the next moment, he also stood up and nodded. Brother, you flatter me. To be honest, this guy is really not easy to deal with. If he had not been careless and underestimated the enemy at the end, perhaps the person lying on the ground right now would be me. When he said this, Fei Ren was not showing off. That was indeed the case in the previous battle. After all, the Heartless Taoist was a veteran level 2 Mystique Venerable Realm expert. In terms of cultivation base, he definitely suppressed Lu Xing. His defensive power was extremely strong, and he possessed the unique life chart power of a Mystique Venerable Realm expert. He could control lightning, and was not something that ordinary fishes and shrimps could compare to. Fei Ren was able to counterattack and kill the Heartless Taoist in one fell swoop because he relied on the Yin-Yang Dao method and the divine immortal Cauldron. The former allowed Fei Ren to temporarily maintain an immortal body. He could exchange injuries and was not afraid of the other party's fatal attacks. The latter could release a powerful devouring power and devour the last bit of Heartless Taoist's origin power for his own use. Fei Ren, you're amazing. Although my brother is the #1 genius in Tianfeng City, Compared to you, he's still far behind. He Lily looked at Fei Rin from head to toe. When she saw that the other party's injuries were mostly healed, she clapped her hands and smiled. Sister, don't talk so much. He Hanqing looked a little embarrassed. It's passable. Fei Rin scratched his face and said modestly. As the saying went, there was always someone better than you. Although his strength was passable, he was not arrogant enough to think that he was invincible. After all, in the sky burial ancient plains where experts were as common as clouds, or even in the vast Black Star continent, even a mystique venerable was just a hero. Above the mystique venerable realm, there were even more powerful saint realm expert. There were even legendary emperor realm expert. These people were the supreme rulers who could truly control the fate of the entire Black Star continent. Another incense stick of time later. Fei Rin put away the spirit ring left by the heartless Taoist, then put away the broken puppet, Little White, into the spirit ring as well. Now that he had obtained the spirit gathering bone, it was only a matter of time before he repaired Little White and helped it complete its evolution. He was not in a hurry. Brother He Miss Lily. Looking at the He siblings, Fei Rin said, May I know where your father is trapped? What's the mystery of the ancient formation that you mentioned? Now that the enemy had been eliminated, the next step was to save them. As long as he could save the He family's patriarch, He Jinwu, he would also gain a lot of benefit. I wonder if Brother Fei has heard of the ancient weapon refining sect. He Hanqing took a deep breath and said slowly, Ancient weapon refining sect? Fei Rin looked a little curious. He had heard of this ancient sect in an ancient book before, but he did not know much about it. He only knew that this sect was very mysterious. On the other hand, the He family's brother and sister seemed to be very familiar with the ancient weapon refining sect. Yes, this sect was a hidden sect during the ancient times. They usually act in an extremely secretive manner. Although the ancient weapon refining sect did not have many disciples, each and every one of them was proficient in the art of weapon refining. They were especially good at forging all kinds of rare and powerful spirit treasures. They were famous in the northern continent for a long time, and the ancestors of our He family had some connections with this ancient weapon refining sect. About 1,800 years ago, the He family's ancestor once saved an ancient weapon refining sect disciple. As for the small piece of spirit-gathering bone in your hand, it was given by that ancient weapon refining sect disciple. Not only that, in order to repay the He family's ancestor for saving his life, the other party also left a nameless scroll, which seems to record the way to the ancient weapon refining sect. And that small piece of spirit-gathering bone has been kept by our He family as a family treasure until now, until it was given to Brother Fei. Its fate. He Hanqing explained slowly, and at the same time, he also told him about the 1,000-year relationship between the He family and the ancient weapon refining sect. I see. Hearing this, Fei Rin nodded deeply and said, So, the He family's current predicament is related to this ancient weapon refining sect? That's right. My father is currently trapped in a core area of the ancient weapon refining sect, and has not yet escaped. He Hanqing sighed and said helplessly. Chapter 665. According to you, the He clan has a way to enter the ruins of the ancient crafting sect? Fei Rin rubbed his chin and asked. Although the ancient crafting sect was an ancient sect in the northern continent, it was destroyed 1,000 years ago. Now there were only a few legends left. Because of the mysterious nature of the ancient crafting sect, even the location of its ruins was unknown. Now, since He Jinwu was trapped in the core of the ancient crafting sect ruins and could not escape, it meant that He Jinwu had a way to enter the ruins of the ancient crafting sect. Indeed. He Hanqing nodded and continued, As for the method to enter the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect, the ancestor of our He family left behind an ancestral instruction. As for the specific location of the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect, it is also recorded in this nameless scroll. As he spoke, He Hanqing took out a dusty, brown-yellow scroll from his sleeve. It was filled with an ancient aura. The scroll was not big, but it was filled with densely packed ancient words and some strange patterns. It was obviously an antique. However, the words recorded on it were the ancient golden words. It was different from the words that were commonly used in the continent. Feiren could not understand it. As for the strange patterns, perhaps only the He clan siblings knew a thing or two about them. After all, the He clan had some ties with the ancient crafting sect more than 1,000 years ago. This thing looks like an antique. Feiren looked at the ancient picture scroll in front of him and sighed. This scroll is the same as the small piece of spirit bone in your hand. They are the treasures of our He clan. They were left behind by our ancestor. He Lily came up and explained. He Hanqing unfurled the scroll slowly. Then, he pointed at the center of the scroll. There was a painting of a towering tower. It was surrounded by clouds and cranes. Even if it was just a simple glance, the three of them could feel a trace of the grandeur of the ancient crafting sect from this nameless scroll. This is where the ancient crafting sect was, but it has been destroyed for many years. It can only be considered a ruin now. He Hanqing explained slowly. After that, his finger pointed at a barren mountain range below. As long as we pass through this magic beast mountain range, we'll reach the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect. Back then, the ancestor of the He family left behind a will that the ancient weapon refining sect was surrounded by mountains and stood at the peak of all the branches. Hearing this, Feiren nodded his head with a meaningful look on his face. The ancient weapon crafting sect. They were one of the giants of the northern continent in ancient times. Their foundation was no weaker than that of a first-rank sect and a hidden family. Even so, they still perished in the long river of history. Just what kind of unforeseen event happened? The ancient weapon refining sect actually fell to the same fate as the dragon sect. Not only was the entire sect destroyed, but it also completely disappeared from the world. Feiren lamented in his heart. Although he was now a martial king and his strength was comparable to a mystique venerable rank fighter, the Black Star continent was just too big. There were still many things in this world that he did not know, not to mention the past of an ancient sect that had existed for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Brother Miss Lily, it's getting late. Let's set off now. Feiren glanced at the two of them again and said, "Okay." He Hanqing replied and then put away the nameless scroll. He Lily also nodded in agreement. After all, there was no time to lose. Even if He Jinwu, who was trapped in the ancient formation, was a mystique venerable rank fighter, the origin energy in his body was limited. Once his origin energy was exhausted, his life would also be in danger. After a while, the three of them immediately set off, flying in the direction of the magic beast mountain range recorded on the scroll. Just after Feiren and the He family siblings left, the battle that had happened here gradually spread around the ancient city of Emperor's Pit. It caused quite a commotion in the ancient city's martial arts world and could be called the #1 headline in the pugilistic world. Feiren, a nameless independent cultivator of the 7th-level martial king realm, a rising star, had killed 2 experts on the villain's ranking. Black Whirlwind Li Bai, who was ranked 24th on the villain's ranking, and Taoist Wu Qing, who was ranked 19th on the villain's ranking, had both died tragically at the hands of Feiren, a young man of unknown origin. This news was really explosive. After this battle, Feiren's name gradually spread throughout the ancient city of Emperor's Pit. Not only did he enter the villain's ranking, rank 17th, but he also received a new nickname, Cold-Blooded Saber Demon. Because Feiren's fighting style was violent and ruthless, his attacks were cold-blooded and merciless, and he himself was extremely skilled in saber techniques, he received this nickname. However, as for his sudden fame in the ancient city of Emperor's Pit, Fei-Ren, who was tens of thousands of miles away and was currently rushing to the Magic Beast mountain range, had no idea at all. Moreover, he had never cared about these false reputations. Fei-Ren's martial arts had always been about strength, and the strong were respected. The outskirts of the Magic Beast mountain range. On the treetops of an ancient forest, 3 figures stood quietly. They were Fei-Ren and the He siblings who had followed him all the way. Roar! On the ground below the 3 of them, there were layers of red shadows, and the roars of beasts were endless. One after another, huge lions with red fur all over their bodies flew along the ancient forest, until they disappeared into the horizon not far away. Their auras were majestic and vast, as if they were a group of migrating magic beasts' army. At this moment, if there was anyone with discerning eyes present, they would definitely know what was happening. A beast tide. Like human warriors, magic beasts would often take the initiative to change their habitats in search of blessed lands with more natural treasures and survival resources, and then migrate. This phenomenon was usually called a beast tide by humans. This was also why some high-level magic beasts, supreme demon kings, and even demon emperors would often appear near some blessed lands on the Black Star continent. To put it bluntly, it was all for the sake of evolving and transforming, to become stronger. Not only that, but the beast tide itself was also very dangerous. Because it was a collective migration of magic beasts, if an ordinary warrior encountered it, there was basically a 90% chance of survival. Even high-level mystique venerables might not be able to escape unscathed from the beast tide. How unlucky! Why did we encounter a beast tide here? Fei-Ren held a piece of dry grass in his mouth, then reached out to gently rub his forehead. And it's a group of migrating fire spirit lions looking for food. They're hard to deal with. The fire spirit lions were not ordinary magic beasts, but a hybrid between the ancient wild beast, Sky Flame Lion, and an ordinary lion. They had a trace of the ancient wild beast, Sky Flame Lion bloodline in their bodies, and possessed powerful flame power. At the same time, their vitality was also very tenacious. Even an ordinary adult fire spirit lion's magic power was at least heaven rank middle rank, comparable to a rank 6 martial king expert among human warriors. Therefore, encountering a group of migrating fire spirit lions in the Magic Beast mountain range was a huge headache for Fei-Ren. Even with his strength, he dared not say that he could escape unscathed from the beast tide before him, not to mention that he was not alone. He had the He siblings with him. Chapter 666. Brother, the demonic beasts below are all fire spirit lions? Lily's expression was a little nervous. After all, her cultivation was not very high, only around LV6 Martial King. Compared to He Hanqing, who was a half-step to Mystique Venerate, she was still much weaker, let alone Fei-Ren. If Lily was really surrounded by this group of fire spirit lions, there was no doubt that she would die. There was almost no chance of escaping. Sister, don't be afraid. I will protect you. As the big brother, He Hanqing instinctively hugged her slender body tightly and said solemnly, "With me here, these beasts won't be able to hurt you." Although he said those words, He Hanqing still did not feel confident. Although his primary energy cultivation was at half-step to Mystique Venerate and he could kill this group of fire spirit lions in a one-on-one fight, the reason why the demonic beast horde was so terrifying and made many warriors tremble in fear was because of the numbers. At a glance, the group of migrating fire spirit lions below them numbered at least 100, or even more. Even an ordinary mid-heaven rank demonic beast had the strength of a LV6 Martial King. Even a Mystique Venerate would not be able to withstand the attacks of hundreds of Martial Kings. Sooner or later, they would be exhausted to death, let alone a half-step to Mystique Venerate. Moreover, there might be a Fire Spirit Lion King with a powerful bloodline that was close to atavism among the Fire Spirit Lions. This was a true king-rank demonic beast. A powerful existence that could speak the human language was not weaker than a mystique venerate among warriors. Brother Fei, what should we do? When Hanqing saw that Fei Ren had not said anything for a long time, he braced himself and asked. After all, the other party's strength was above the brother and sisters. There might be a better way to escape. What should we do? Fei Ren turned to look at Hanqing. He shrugged and smiled helplessly. I don't know either. Based on the current situation, there are only two ways for us to escape from this group of fire spirit lions. We can either kill our way out or wait and see. Hanqing was speechless for a moment. First, he looked at the group of fire spirit lions that were still galloping endlessly under his feet. Then, he shook his head. With the strength of the two of us, I'm afraid that we won't be able to fight our way out of this encirclement. In the end, we will only be buried in the mouths of the fire spirit lions. Looks like we can only wait. Let's wait. These bastards' target isn't us. Fei Ren nodded as well. His face was still calm, and he didn't say anything. They had already reached the heart of the mountain range of magical beasts, and were not far from the ruins of the crafting school. There was no hurry. Furthermore, Fei Ren was able to tell that the purpose of this group of fire spirit lions seemed to be to find a habitat and not to hunt for food. As long as the three of them did not take the initiative to attack, these beasts would not attack them. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I can help Whitey complete its evolution. Squatting quietly on the treetop, Fei Ren looked down at the group of fire spirit lions running on the ground. He spat out the dry grass in his mouth, and then took out the small piece of spirit containing bone from his spirit ring. At the same time, he raised his hand to summon Little White. Whoosh! A white light flashed. In the next moment, a puppet wearing white bone armor appeared out of thin air and landed in front of Fei Ren. It was the puppet Little White. However, compared to the domineering aura from before, the current appearance of the puppet Little White was somewhat tragic. He was half kneeling on the ground, and his entire skeleton was half broken. The bone blade in his right hand had a huge gap that connected to half of his body. He couldn't even stand up, and most of the blood vessels and meridians that had been condensed had faded away. In the fierce battle with the Heartless Taoist, in order to make the other party reveal a flaw, Fei Ren didn't hesitate to use the puppet Little White as a strange move. In the end, the puppet Little White was destroyed by the Heartless Taoist with a single palm strike. Its entire skeleton almost fell apart, and in the end it became like this. This is the Martial King Realm puppet from before? Seeing Fei Ren summon the puppet Little White, Hanqing, who was beside him, also looked over curiously. After all, in the battle in the Imperial Pit Ancient City, it was the puppet Little White that attracted the attention of the Heartless Taoist, and Fei Ren had the opportunity to use the immortal refining cauldron to kill the other party and suck him dry. This scene was still vivid in Hanqing's mind. The damage is too serious. Fortunately, I have the spirit accumulating bone. Otherwise, I'm not sure if it can be repaired, let alone evolve. Fei Ren weighed the spirit accumulating bone in his hand and sighed inwardly. Crack! Fei Ren's palm suddenly exerted force and crushed the spirit accumulating bone into powder. In the next moment, a vast and pure spirit chi also overflowed and lingered. It echoed with his own origin power move, and then slowly poured into the puppet Little White's body. Fei Ren, what are you doing? Seeing the other party's actions, he Lily couldn't help but ask curiously. Repairing the puppet and helping it complete its evolution. This is the biggest use of the spirit accumulating bone. Fei Ren said unhurriedly. His hands didn't stop moving, and he continued to inject spirit chi and origin power into the puppet Little White. The dimmed blood vessels and meridians on the puppet's body gradually recovered, and its bones became harder, and its aura continued to rise. So this is the real use of the spirit accumulating bone. Seeing this scene, Lily's beautiful eyes flickered with surprise. Then, she stood aside obediently and didn't choose to disturb Feyrin. Half an hour later, after absorbing the spirit accumulating bone, the puppet Little White, which was close to being scrapped, was restored to its original state. The white bone armor on his body was shining brightly, emitting a cold light. His originally empty and lifeless eyes also had a trace of darkness. The meridians all over his body bulged, and his muscles were robust. He seemed to be close to a real human. However, the puppet Little White's eyes were still a little dull. There was still some distance before it could truly transform into a human form. Very good. Looking up and down at the new puppet Little White, Feyren's handsome face revealed a satisfied look. Then, he kept it in his spirit ring. Next, he planned to let Little White slowly absorb the spirit chi of the spirit accumulating bone in the spirit ring, and at the same time complete the evolution. According to his estimation, this shouldn't take too long. It would take at least 1 or 2 days, and at most 3 or 4 days. Roar. At this moment, an earth-shattering roar of a huge beast suddenly came from a distance, and instantly resounded through the world. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The beast's roar was like thunder from the sky. For a moment, the entire earth and forest swayed with the wind, trembling non-stop. What's going on? The sudden change caused the He siblings to be stunned. They had never seen such a scene before. Roar, roar, roar. On the ground below, the pack of fire spirit lions that were running at full speed suddenly stopped. For a moment, roars were heard, as if they were responding to the huge beast's roar that came from the sky not far away. The lions roared wildly, shocking and magnificent. At the same time, a strong devil power aura was also rapidly approaching here. This devil power aura, could it be? Feyren's face turned serious. He quickly turned his head to look in the direction of the beast's roar. When he saw the huge fiery red beast shadow in the distant sky, he couldn't help but frown. Fire Spirit Lion King. Chapter 667. Damn it! Why is there a Fire Spirit Lion King here? Feyren's expression turned ugly. If it were an ordinary heaven-rank Fire Spirit Lion, he would not be afraid at all. However, the Fire Spirit Lion King was the leader of the Fire Spirit Lions and was an authentic king-rank demonic beast with a pure bloodline and powerful magic power. Even if the Fire Spirit Lion King's magic power was not very strong and was only at the low king rank, it was still comparable to a level 3 mystique venerable realm martial artist. It was not easy to deal with. The three of them were surrounded by a group of Fire Spirit Lions and a Fire Spirit Lion King, whose magic power had reached the low king rank. They were in a dangerous situation. You two, follow me closely. There's something wrong with the movements of these bastards. Feyren turned his head and looked at the He family's brother and sister behind him. He said in an unquestionable tone, there might be a bloody battle coming up. Originally, the group of Fire Spirit Lions was migrating together and did not intend to attack the three of them. However, after the Fire Spirit Lion King appeared, the group of beasts suddenly changed their target and targeted Feyren and the others. Lily's eyes were filled with panic as she nodded her head hurriedly. She looked like a helpless little bunny. As for He Hanqing, he quietly clenched his fists as the Yuan power in his dantian gathered in his palms. His entire body tensed up as if he was a bow that was ready to shoot. It was as if he was already prepared for battle. Roar. A piercingly cold and shocking beast roar came faintly. In the next moment, a huge fiery red beast shadow swept across the sky, stirring up a gust of wind and filling the air with dust. A huge Fire Spirit Lion with a head as large as an ancient temple bell landed in front of the three of them. The Fire Spirit Lion's eyes were as red as blood and its body was covered in fiery red fur. Its long iron tail hung on the ground and stirred up a circle of dust. It was the Fire Spirit Lion King that Feyren was quite wary of. Roar, roar, roar. Seeing the leader of their tribe appear, The surrounding countless fire spirit lions also roared in unison, as if they were welcoming a certain victorious general. For a moment, the scene looked rather shocking. In the face of this situation, Fei-Rin and the others on the treetops did not act rashly. They continued to quietly observe the situation. "Humans, why are you here?" The fire spirit lion king glanced at Fei-Rin and the others on the treetops. Then, it opened its bloody mouth and said coldly, "As a powerful king stage magical beast, although it was still unable to take human form, it wasn't difficult for it to speak human language. Unlike ordinary human warriors, demonic beasts could only evolve and improve their demonic energy and bloodline if they wanted to become stronger. When ordinary magical beasts stepped into the heaven rank, their bloodline would undergo a transformation, showing signs of atavism. They would have a chance to comprehend new powerful abilities. If they broke through to the king rank and transformed into a demon king, they would comprehend the ability to speak human language. Although king stage magical beasts were very powerful and were known as demon kings, there were even more powerful saint stage magical beasts. There were even legends that said that there were supreme demon emperors who had stepped into the emperor stage. Not only could such beings speak human language, but they could also take human form. They were no different from ordinary human warriors. Moreover, due to their demonic beast body and bloodline, their overall strength was even more powerful. "No reason, we're just passing by." In the face of the fire spirit lion king's probing, Fei-Rin also cupped his hands and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "The three of us have no grudges with the nobles. May I know why you sent these fire spirit lions to block our way?" "I hate hypocritical humans like you." The fire spirit lion king exhaled heavily, causing sparks to ignite. Even the temperature of the surrounding air rose slightly. "Back when I had yet to break through to become a king-rank magical beast, I saw with my own eyes a few human mystique venerables massacring my people. In the end, they even used their bones and skin to refine some so-called spirit treasure pills. Humans are a bunch of damned bastards. Especially you martial artists." Hearing this, the He brother and sister were both stunned. Because their tribe had been massacred by human warriors, the fire spirit lion king before them seemed to have a strong hatred for humans. Fei-Rin also frowned and said, "Lion King, everything in the world follows karma. Everything has good and evil. Whether it's humans killing demonic beasts or demonic beasts hunting humans, it's all for the sake of survival. This is the law of nature. Moreover, there are good and bad human warriors, just like you demonic beast. Even if you're seeking revenge, you shouldn't be looking for us. Instead, you should be looking for the people who massacred your fire spirit lion tribe." At first, Fei-Rin thought that the fire spirit lion king before them had some kind of conspiracy. However, it turned out that he was overthinking. The fire spirit lion king simply did not like the humans and attacked them indiscriminately for revenge. Fei-Rin and the He family siblings were more unlucky. They had accidentally bumped into the muzzle of the gun. "Cut the crap, all humans deserve to die. Since you've met me today, the few of you shall leave your lives behind." The fire spirit lion king before them was obviously blinded by hatred and prejudice. It did not agree with Fei-Rin's explanation and let out another deafening roar. "My sons, charge! Tear these humans apart!" Roar! In the next moment, a large number of fire spirit lions seemed to have received some kind of blood boost. Immediately, their emotions were aroused and they all charged towards Fei-Rin and the rest, who were on the treetops not far away. In an instant, the roars of the beasts shook the earth. "Go! Kill our way out!" Seeing this, Fei-Rin knew that there was no way out. He immediately leaped into the sky and chose to ignore the fire spirit lions that were flying towards them. He flew towards the heart of the Magic Beast mountain range without worry. "Sister, let's go!" Seeing this, He Han-Qing also stood in the sky and followed closely behind with He Lily. "Still want to run?" Boom! Seeing that Fei Ren and the rest were planning to escape, the Fire Spirit Lion King laughed coldly and opened its bloody mouth. In an instant it spat out a huge, blazing fireball that was filled with an extraordinary amount of magic power. The fireball burned fiercely and soared into the sky. Its terrifying temperature seemed to be able to evaporate the surrounding air. Its power was astonishing. Overlord Fist. Facing the huge fireball that was coming from behind, Fei Ren also waved his right arm. Lines of Overlord demonic inscriptions appeared on it, and at the same time, he threw out a punch. Rumble! In an instant, flames and Yuanli shot out in all directions and exploded with an earth-shattering sound. The aftershock spread in all directions. Roar! Swoosh! 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 On the ground, a small portion of the Fire Spirit Lions that were unable to dodge in time were injured by the aftershock of the collision. They let out miserable cries, while the majority of the Fire Spirit Lions flew into the sky, avoiding the aftershock of the collision between Fei Ren and the Fire Spirit Lion King. After all, an adult Fire Spirit Lion was a heaven-rank magical beast and was comparable to a martial king. Flying was also one of their basic abilities. Although the Fire Spirit Lion King's attack did not hurt Fei Ren, the He family's brother and sister were in trouble. Boom! The aftershock of the fireball hit He Hanqing's left arm and instantly left a charred black area. It emitted a pungent smell of blood and burnt flesh. At the same time, it revealed the eerie white bones and meridians. It was terrifying. Originally, with He Hanqing's cultivation base and strength, he could have avoided the aftershock of the Fire Spirit Lion King's attack. However, He Lily, who was beside him, would be in danger. After all, her Yuanli cultivation base was too weak. Hence, in order to protect He Lily, he did not choose to avoid the attack. Instead, he blocked the attack of the Fire Spirit Lion King for her. Brother! He Lily's expression changed drastically when she saw this, and she cried out in alarm. Brother! Are you okay? Are your injuries serious? Woo-woo, it's all my fault. He Lily's pretty face was filled with worry and self-blame. A tear rolled down from the corner of her eye. I'm fine. Sister, don't worry. Enduring the heart-wrenching pain in his left arm, He Hanqing's face gradually turned pale as he comforted her in a low voice. Then, he turned his head and looked at Fei Ren. Brother Fei, according to the painting left behind by the He family's ancestor, the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect are located under the Emperor's Pit, which is more than 10,000 meters underground in the heart of the magical Beast Mountain Range. His finger drew another line on the painting, and the aura on He Hanqing's body became weaker and weaker. He gritted his teeth and said, In the heart of the magical Beast Mountain Range, there is an ancient tree. Under the tree, there is a 1,000-year-old stone that leads straight to the ground. That is the entrance to the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect. Brother Fei, I'll leave my sister to you. You must protect her. At this point, He Hanqing was also gasping for breath. The corner of his mouth could not stop coughing out blood, as if he was about to die. Chapter 668. Brother! Seeing this scene, He Lily was so anxious that she cried out and hurriedly hugged him. TSK. Cut the crap. Fei Ren frowned and turned to look at the Fire Spirit Lion King and the horde of beasts that were chasing after them. He said seriously, As long as I'm here, you won't die. Buzz. A black and white yin-yang symbol appeared on his palm. Fei Ren's face was determined. He raised his hand and pressed it on He Hanqing's charred left arm. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Strands of Tao art power seeped into He Hanqing's left arm and emitted a boundless vitality. It was the yin-yang Tao art. However, even the yin-yang Tao art that contained a strong vitality and could reverse yin and yang could not completely heal the other party's serious injuries. It was enough to show the powerful strength of the Fire Spirit Lion King. Even a casual attack was enough to destroy the world. How could this be? Seeing that He was still dispirited and his injuries showed no signs of recovery, Fei Ren's face became even more serious. The yin-yang Dao art is ineffective? This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. He injured left arm was still emitting a strong burning flame and devil power aura. If this power was not removed soon, He would be devoured by the boundless flames and die on the spot. As expected of the descendant of the ancient devil beast, the sky flame lion. Even if there is only a trace of ancestral bloodline, the boundless flames that the fire spirit lion king spat out cannot be removed by the yin-yang Dao art at the complete stage. Fei Ren secretly clenched his fist. Unless his yin-yang Dao art could be improved and break through to the higher level of the yin-yang law and comprehend the power of law. Otherwise, it would be difficult to remove the boundless flames of the fire spirit lion king. There's no other way, Fei Ren shook his head. If he wanted to save He Hanqing's life, he could only cut off his own arm. There was no other way. Crack! His right hand turned into a knife and Fei Ren cut off He Hanqing's left arm. Blood instantly gushed out. Ugh! He Hanqing's face suddenly changed and seemed to be in pain. However, without the corrosion of the boundless flames, the aura on his body gradually stabilized. It seemed like he had saved his life. Fei Ren, why are you? Seeing this scene, Lily's beautiful eyes suddenly widened. However, before she could say anything, she was interrupted by the other party. You? This is the only way to save your brother. Hurry up and leave. Don't hinder me here. Raising his hand, Fei Ren sent the He siblings flying a short distance away. His face was unusually calm. Brother Fei, this. Scram! Seeing that the two of them were still hesitating, Fei Ren roared again like an enraged beast. Take care. Seeing this, the He siblings hurriedly left as well, heading towards a certain location within the mountain range of magical beasts. On the horizon. Human child, how dare you try to go against me and my people by yourself? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The fire spirit lion king laughed coldly as he waved his huge and heavy tail, creating gusts of wind. He did not stop the He siblings, as if he felt that the two of them would not be able to escape from his grasp. You are merely a demon king. Moreover, you are the most trashy low king-level magical beast. You are at the bottom of the demon kings. I don't even know where you get your confidence from. Fei Ren did not want to be outdone as he revealed a cold smile. You have a sharp tongue. Hearing this, the fire spirit lion king was even more furious. The demonic energy around him surged and streaks of blazing flames were spat out. It seemed like he was about to attack again. However, Fei Ren did not intend to fight with him. His left hand turned into a sword as he muttered. Divine refining cauldron. Appear. Swoosh. A ray of light flashed across the sky. In the next moment, the ancient divine refining cauldron appeared in front of Fei Ren. Seeing his actions, the fire spirit lion king was stunned and confused. What is this human child planning to do? You want to stop me with just a broken cauldron? You must be dreaming. It felt a vast and ancient aura from the divine refining cauldron. However, that was all. After all, it was a low king-level magical beast. It had a trace of the bloodline of the ancient magical beast, Sky Flame Lion, flowing in its body. Its strength was enough to crush a human mystique, venerable realm expert of the same rank. Facing Fei Ren, who was only at LV8 Martial King realm, the Fire Spirit Lion King did not take him seriously at all. Stop you? After summoning the divine refining cauldron, Fei Ren's lips curled up slightly. That's why people say that beasts are beasts. Even if they have cultivated for thousands of years and can speak, their intelligence is still lacking. Did I say I wanted to fight with you? After all, Fei Ren was not a fool. He was not so arrogant as to challenge the entire Fire Spirit Lion King alone. Moreover, there was a low king-level Fire Spirit Lion King among them. Doing so was tantamount to suicide. You. The Fire Spirit Lion King was flustered and exasperated. Fire Spirit Lion King, I will remember what happened today. Just you wait. Fei Ren gently patted the divine refining cauldron in his hand again. In the next moment, all the origin energy in his dantian was injected into it. Even the dozens of overlord demonic tattoos that he had painstakingly refined were instantly drained without any hesitation. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Under everyone's gaze, a tiny space crack appeared out of thin air. It was about the height of a person and was emitting a mysterious heavenly energy. It was very strange. This is a space crack. The Fire Spirit Lion King's heart skipped a beat. Although it could also use its powerful demonic energy to tear the space, it would consume a lot of demonic energy and time. It could not be done in a short period of time. Moreover, it could not guarantee that it would succeed and that it would not be devoured by the space crack. Right now, Fei Ren, who was only at LV8 Martial King realm, could successfully tear the space and create a space crack in just a few seconds. It could be described as a miracle that defied the natural order. If it had not seen it with its own eyes, the Fire Spirit Lion King would not have believed it. Swoosh! Without further ado, Fei Ren glanced coldly at the Fire Spirit Lion King in the sky not far away. Then, he jumped into the space crack and disappeared in an instant. He ran away? Seeing Fei Ren's figure disappear into the space crack, the Fire Spirit Lion King was stunned. Then, its eyes turned red and it roared to the sky, as if it was venting its anger that had nowhere to go. Roar! Human kid! I'll remember you! I'll kill you sooner or later! The loud roar of the beast resounded through the heavens and earth. Even the ground under its feet shook a little. Then, it gradually quieted down in the rolling Magical Beast mountain range. Somewhere in the Magical Beast mountain range. Swoosh! In midair, a space crack suddenly appeared. Then, a figure fell from it, revealing a delicate and slightly tired face. It was Fei Ren who had escaped. Damn it! I finally got rid of those bastards! Fei Ren wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and staggered to his feet. His eyes were full of fatigue and his limbs were weak. It seemed that his body was still weak at the moment. After all, in order to use the immortal refining cauldron to tear the space crack and escape, he had almost used up all the origin energy in his dantian and the dozens of overlord demonic marks that he had painstakingly condensed. Chapter 669. The two of them should have escaped the pursuit of the Fire Spirit Lions. Thinking of the He siblings, Fei Ren gritted his teeth and forced himself to use the Overlord's record of Western Chu to heal himself. At the same time, wisps of Yin and Yang Dao power appeared to help heal his injuries. Although the divine refining cauldron was powerful and could tear space apart, it consumed a lot of the martial artist's energy. If not for the fact that Fei Ren's body had already fused perfectly with the immortal refining cauldron, coupled with the fact that his origin energy was far more boundless than an ordinary warrior's and the powerful Overlord's magic mark, he might not have been able to escape from the Fire Spirit Lion King. After all, tearing space was not something that could be done casually. If not for the fact that he had no other choice, Fei Ren would not have used this move. This was his last life-saving trump card. Every time he used the divine refining cauldron to teleport away, it would consume all of his energy. Fei Ren's strength was not even comparable to a martial spirit realm martial artist. His body was very weak, and even a heaven-rank demonic beast with a weak bloodline could easily tear him apart. Eastern Continent, Heaven Saint Emperor Dynasty, Imperial Palace Main Hall. A tall and majestic figure stood there with a majestic aura, emitting a boundless majestic aura. In front of him, a middle-aged man in a golden dragon robe and an imperial crown was half-kneeling. The middle-aged man's face was solemn as he stared at the tall figure in the middle of the hall. "Father, why did you do that back then?" If anyone was present at this moment, they would be shocked. The middle-aged man in the dragon robe was none other than the current ruler of the Heaven Saint Emperor dynasty, the Emperor Zhu Hongwu. Why? The tall figure was silent for a moment, then slowly turned around, revealing an old and dignified face. Hongwu, so many years have passed, and you still can't let go of what happened back then. Yes. I don't understand. Zhu Hongwu gritted his teeth. Although he knew that he would anger the other party if he continued to ask, he still forced himself to say, without the help of the Dragon Sect, our Heaven Saint Emperor dynasty would not have been able to develop and become the top imperial dynasty in the Eastern continent. Furthermore, Zhu Hongwu paused and glanced at the tall old man in the main hall, until the old man's face gradually turned ashen. Back then, father, you were able to defeat all the princes in the family and successfully ascend the throne. It was also inseparable from teacher's help. Without the help of Master and his dragon sect, our Heaven Saint Imperial Court would be nothing. Shut up. At this point, the tall old man also angrily shouted, rudely interrupting Zhu Hongwu's words, Hongwu, I don't know whether you are too stupid or too naive. Li Tsongtian and his underlings are not as simple as you think. The Heavenly Dragon Sect was established by Li Tsongtian, and do you think his only motive is to help our Heavenly Saint Imperial Court dominate the Eastern continent? It has been more than 20 years since you ascended the throne. I didn't expect you to still be as benevolent as before. As an emperor, this is a great taboo. The tall old man said coldly, his tone brooking no disobedience. I may not know the history of the Heavenly Dragon Sect as well as father, but I know that it was our Zhu clan and the entire Heaven Saint Imperial Court that betrayed the Heavenly Dragon Sect. If not for father's decision, the Heavenly Dragon Sect would not have been besieged and hunted down and suffered heavy casualties. A teacher for a day is a father for life. If not for teacher's personal teachings, I would not have reached this step today. Zhu Hongwu gritted his teeth and clenched his fists under his dragon robe. The Heavenly Dragon Sect's Li Tsongtian, whose name shook the continent in the past, was his teacher who personally taught him martial arts. Back then, when the Heavenly Dragon Sect was at its peak, it was also the national religion of the Heaven Saint Imperial Court and was revered. However, when the Heavenly Dragon Sect was besieged by the righteous sects and clans of the continent, not only did the Heavenly Saint Imperial Court not lend a helping hand, they even joined in the pursuit of the Heavenly Dragon Sect. As for Zhu Hongwu, his hands were also stained with the blood of many Heavenly Dragon Sect members. This was a demon in his heart that he could not get rid of. Enough. Looks like your mind is not very clear recently. You don't have to go to court for the next few days. Stay in the Imperial City's East Palace and calm down. The tall old man flicked his sleeve again and coldly said these words. Then, he left in a flash. I didn't expect that old man Li Tsongtian to still be alive. Humph, is the Heavenly Dragon Sect going to stir up trouble again? After leaving the main hall, the tall old man frowned and his face was solemn. A few months ago, when he was in seclusion, a few great emperors suddenly came to the imperial city of the Heaven Saint Imperial Court. Other than the mysterious great Emperor Tao Qian, there was also the famous Heavenly Dragon Sect's Li Tsongtian. When he saw his teacher whom he had not seen for decades, the Heaven Saint Emperor Zhu Hongwu's mental state was not very stable, as if he was immersed in the nightmare of his betrayal of the Heavenly Dragon Sect and his teacher. Because of this, as the previous great emperor and Zhu Hongwu's father, the tall old man had to come out of seclusion and temporarily take charge of the Heaven Saint Imperial Court. At the same time, in the heart of the magical Beast Mountain Range, under an ancient tree. Brother, do you think Faerun will be okay? Leaning against a huge, strange ancient rock, Lily asked worriedly. Previously, in order to help the two of them escape, Faerun did not hesitate to stay behind alone to fight against the Fire Spirit Lion King and the rest of the Fire Spirit Lions. It could be said that he had entered the tiger's den and had a slim chance of survival. Because of this, Lily was also very worried. After all, he was her savior. Don't worry, Brother Fei is powerful, he should be fine. Although he was not confident, Hanqing still pretended to be calm and said, let's wait for him here. He won't die. In Hanqing's opinion, Fei Ren was powerful and powerful. He should not die in the outskirts of the magical beast mountain range. Sorry to keep the two of you waiting. At this time, a man's voice came from afar. In the next moment, a gray figure landed on the ground, revealing a delicate and slightly tired face. Fei Ren. Seeing the identity of the person who came, Hanqing and Lily's faces were filled with joy, and then they hurried to greet him. Brother Fei, it's great that you're okay. Thank you for saving my brother just now. Fei Ren smiled and said, I've been tough since I was young, I won't die so easily. I've already left that bunch of bastards far behind. How are we going to enter the ancient weapon refining sect ruins next? Hanqing took out the nameless painting scroll from the spirit ring, then pointed to the huge, strange rock beside the ancient tree. According to the records, the entrance to the ruins is under that rock. Then how are we going to enter? Fei Ren asked again. Very simple. Lily grinned from the side, revealing her crescent moons. That's enough. Unknowingly, she was holding a small silver disc in her hand. Some strange patterns were engraved on it, simple and elegant. Click, click, click. Lily stretched out her hand and gently placed the silver disc in the middle of the huge, strange rock. With a tremor, the huge, strange rock split into two, revealing a bottomless underground tunnel. It seemed to be the entrance to the ancient weapon refining sect ruins. Chapter 670. I didn't expect the ancient weapon refining sect to be in a place like this. Looking at the bottomless underground tunnel, Fei Ren's face was filled with emotion. Brother, Fei Ren, follow me. Lily leaped and disappeared into the tunnel. Brother Fei, let's go. Hanqing also cast his gaze over as he said with a smile. Fei Ren nodded his head and followed him. The three of them disappeared into the tunnel. Click, click, click. In the next moment, the two halves of the strange rock slowly closed, sealing the tunnel as if it had never existed. 10,000 feet underground. After about an hour, Fei Ren and the others finally passed through the long tunnel and saw the light of day again. The sky was gray, as if because they were underground, sunlight rarely shone in. They could only see a faint ray of light and a little bit of starlight. These starlight were not natural, but were star spirit stones commonly used by martial artists. Star spirit stones were a special kind of stone. They were usually used for lighting, and were widely used by some sects and families in the outside world. Not far away, a grand and simple ancient palace was faintly discernible. In the eyes of Fei Ren and the others, it seemed to be the main hall of the ancient weapon refining sect. Around the main hall, there was a large stretch of small palaces, like stars surrounding the moon. It was a strange sight. However, these palaces all exuded a dilapidated and decayed aura. Dilapidated fences and dilapidated walls, there was not a single person in sight. It was as if they were telling the story of how the ancient weapon refining sect went from glory to destruction. This is the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect? Looking at the scene in front of him, Fei Ren was a little surprised. Although the ancient weapon refining sect had been destroyed for thousands of years, its ruins were still so intact and had not suffered much damage. It was rare for martial artists to set foot on it. Obviously, it was extremely rare. Yes. Hanqing nodded. Just like the other party, even though the He clan was related to the ancient crafting sect and possessed the method to enter the ancient crafting sect, this was his first time entering the ruins of the ancient crafting sect. Of course, because the ancient weapon refining sect was extremely mysterious, the disciples of the sect rarely came out. So even though it was destroyed in the end, it left behind many treasures and inheritances. Basically no cultivators were able to find this place. he Lily chimed in from the side. At the same time, she patted her plump chest with a proud look on her pretty face. Other than Father, the few of us should be the only ones who can enter the weapon-refining sect ruins. I see. Hearing this, Fei Ren's face lit up with joy. According to him, the ruins of the crafting school hadn't been visited by anyone for thousands of years. This meant that there were treasures everywhere. Crafting blueprints, heavenly materials, primal stones, spiritual pills, and so on. He could take them all for himself. No one fought with him for it. It was as if he had fallen into a treasure trove. Fei Ren thought to himself, "Brother Fei, there's no time to lose. Let's hurry into the main hall." He Hanqing said again. After all, He Jinwu was still trapped in a large array in the ruins of the ancient crafting sect. The green soul lamp in He Lily's hand was flickering. It was enough to show that the other party's situation was not optimistic. Fei Ren nodded. Although the treasures of the ancient crafting sect were very tempting, he still promised the He clan siblings that he would help He Jinwu break out of the array. As for these treasures, they were not in a hurry. After all, thousands of years had passed. Other than He Jinwu, Fei Ren and the He clan siblings were the few martial artists who could enter the ruins of the ancient crafting sect. No one could compete with them for treasures. A few minutes later the three of them finally arrived in front of the main hall. They saw a magnificent ancient palace, which was exuding an ancient aura. The ceiling of the palace was engraved with many strange birds and beasts, which seemed to have been carved by the gods. Even the blue stone steps that Fei Ren and the others were stepping on were not ordinary, they were made of top-grade emerald stones. However, this was only one of the many palaces. It was enough to show how glorious and powerful the ancient crafting sect was at its peak. Buzz. Just as Fei Ren was sighing, the immortal refining cauldron in his dantian suddenly emitted a strange rhythm. It was like a ball of fire that had been awakened, emitting a scorching heat. Fei Ren quickly stopped in his tracks. He was also stunned. Then, his expression turned to one of deep surprise. A treasure has appeared nearby? He had also noticed the abnormality of the immortal refining cauldron in his dantian. Ever since he picked up this treasure in the Dacha dynasty's Wuan town, Fei Ren had been exploring the mysteries behind the immortal refining cauldron. After all these years, he had gained some insights. However, the immortal refining cauldron rarely emitted such unusual movements. Basically, the only things that could cause the immortal refining cauldron to resonate rhythmically were the ultimate treasures of heaven and earth. No. It's an aura. Fei Ren shook his head again. His expression was solemn. He did not sense any place rich in spiritual qi nearby. It was clear that the thing that caused the immortal refining cauldron to resonate was not some ultimate treasure of heaven and earth. Instead, there was a powerful and majestic ancient aura enveloping the main hall of the ancient crafting sect ruins before him. Moreover, this ancient aura revealed traces of sharpness and eeriness. It was like the chilly wind in the ghost mansion of hell. It made one feel uncomfortable and strange. What exactly is this aura? Fei Ren looked up at the main hall before him. The entire hall still appeared dilapidated and ancient. There was nothing unusual about it. However, the immortal refining cauldron's resonance did not disappear. He could also sense the peculiarity of the hall before him. The strange aura that enveloped the entire hall could not be dispelled. This aura was not the origin power used by martial artists, nor was it the devil power of a devil beast. It was also not the spiritual qi that nurtured natural treasures. This was an ancient aura that was eerily silent and even carried traces of evil. It did not fit in with the surrounding air, as if it did not belong to this world. Patter! When he saw Fei Ren suddenly stop in his tracks and stare at the main hall before him, He Hanqing turned his head and said, "Brother Fei, what's wrong?" "Nothing. Let's go in." Fei Ren retracted his thoughts and grinned. "Brother Fei Ren, Come and take a look. At this time, Lily's shout came from the front. The two of them hurriedly stepped forward. Lily's pretty face was filled with surprise. At this moment, she was standing in front of a huge bronze disc. Her pair of jade-like fingers were pointing at it, as if something new had happened. Behind the bronze disc, there was a huge stone door that was tightly shut. It seemed to be the entrance to the main hall. Brother, what do you think this disc is? The teachings left behind by our ancestors didn't seem to mention this. Lily pursed her lips and looked at him curiously. Seeing this, Hanqing was also stunned for a moment. Then, he shook his head with an awkward expression. Sister, you're asking this. I don't know either. Ancient astrological disc. Fei Ren's faint voice came from behind. If I'm not wrong, this thing should be the ancient astrological disc that records the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. At the same time, it's also the key to opening the main hall's entrance. As long as we can decipher the trajectory of the stars, we can enter the main hall in front of us. As expected of the ancient weapon refining sect, they actually used the stars of the heavens and earth as a protective formation. It seems that it won't be that easy for us to obtain the opportunities inside. Fei Ren stepped forward and slowly said. Chapter 671. Astrology was a natural phenomenon between heaven and earth. At the same time, it was also a form of metaphysics. For example, the tidal phenomenon that everyone knew, whether it was the rise or fall of the sea, was related to the gravitational pull of the moon in the sky. The bronze disk in front of Fei Ren recorded the astrology of the Big Dipper in the sky. Whether it was the trajectory of the 7 stars or the various positions, they were all clearly marked. Although thousands or even tens of thousands of years had passed, the astrology on the bronze disk was still undamaged. The records were very clear and it was obviously very rare. The ancient astrology disk? Lily was shocked. Yes. Fei Ren nodded and said, also, this thing is the key to opening the main hall. If we don't solve this astrology, we might not be able to enter the main hall. I see. Father has been studying astrology for many years. I'm sure he knows some secrets of the ancient weapon refining sect, and came for this. Hanqing had an epiphany. By the looks of it, He Jinwu had long planned to explore the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect. At the same time, he had solved the Big Dipper on the ancient astrology disk and entered the ancient weapon refining sect's main hall. However, his luck was not very good. He was now trapped in an ancient formation in the main hall and could not escape. Fei Ren, how are we going to solve this Big Dipper? Lily looked troubled when she heard that. She knew nothing about astrological metaphysics. As for her brother, Hanqing, he was more or less a dabbler. He was miles away from the head of the family, Jinwu. He would not be able to solve this astrology. Unless they broke the formation with brute force and rushed into the ancient weapon refining sect's main hall. Are we going to force our way in? Lily suddenly had a bold idea. Miss Lily, if we break the formation with brute force, I'm afraid it won't work. As if reading her mind, Fei Ren shook his head and said helplessly, this main hall is surrounded by a powerful invisible barrier. With our strength, we won't be able to break it. Unless the person attacking is a high-level mystique venerable or a saint realm powerhouse. Only then will we be able to break the formation. If we want to enter the main hall safely, we have to solve the astrology in front of us. Hiss! Hearing this, Lily let out a sigh. Her beautiful face was a little disappointed. She then looked at Fei Ren. Fei Ren, do you have any good ideas? Of course there is a way. Fei Ren spoke neither hurriedly nor slowly. He then stepped forward, his gaze landing on the bronze disc. Just now, he had already observed that there were a total of 4 tightly shut stone doors in the main hall. However, only one of them was the real entrance, which was the life door. The rest were most likely the death door. If he accidentally opened it, It would be very dangerous. The 7 stars are lined up, pointing towards the southeast. Faerun rubbed his chin as his gaze swept across the Big Dipper on the bronze disk. Since the ancient weapon refining sect has set up a celestial formation to protect the entire main hall, it shouldn't be that easy to break through. The stone door in the southeast is most likely the death door, just a smoke bomb. The Big Dipper was divided into Dubhi, Merak, Fekta, Megrez, Alioth, Mizar, and Alkade. Among them, Dubhi, Merak, Fekta, and Megrez were the body of the Dipper, while Alioth, Mizar, and Alkade were the handle. The handle pointed towards the 4 directions of north, south, east, and west. Each direction indicated a celestial phenomenon, and the handle of the Big Dipper in front of Faerun was pointing towards the southeast. "Brother Fei, what do you need us to do next? Just tell us." He Hanqing spoke from the side, his face a little nervous. After all, he didn't know anything about astrology, and couldn't help much in breaking through the formation. He could only be an assistant on the side. "No need. The 2 of you just need to stand guard at the side. Be careful, there might be changes later." Faerun didn't even turn his head. The next moment, he reached out and pressed lightly on the astrology, then shifted the Big Dipper's trajectory slightly. Click, 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 the astrology moved slowly, and the handle of the Big Dipper gradually turned towards the northwest. Seeing this, he Hanqing and he Lily held their breaths and watched attentively, not daring to make a sound. Rumble! Just as the handle of the Big Dipper moved completely towards the northwest, the 5 stone doors of the main hall that were originally tightly shut began to tremble slowly, stirring up a cloud of dust as if they were about to open. Bam! Gurgle, gurgle. The next moment, one of the stone doors opened with a loud bang, followed by a cloud of thick green mist and a foul stench. It instantly spread out in all directions outside the hall, corroding and melting everything in its path. Even the sturdy green stone slabs under their feet were not spared. They were corroded and turned into fine powder, emitting ear-piercing sizzling sounds. "This is miasma." Seeing this, Faerun's expression changed slightly. Behind this stone door was a huge amount of miasma, comparable to a giant poison vault. With such a huge amount of miasma, even a high-level mystique, venerable rank martial artist could fail miserably and be corroded by the miasma on the spot, not even leaving behind ashes. "What is this?" He Lily let out a shriek. Her pretty face was filled with terror. The corner of her clothes and her lower abdomen were accidentally contaminated by a trace of miasma. Immediately, they were corroded into nothingness, revealing a pure white arm and delicate body. "Sister." Beside her, he Hanqing's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly went forward to pick her up, then leaped out of the miasma's range. As expected, it's not that simple. Behind this stone door was the death door. This path was blocked. Faerun's heart skipped a beat. He turned to look at the He family's siblings not far away. "Stay away from here. This is a highly toxic miasma. Even a mystique, venerable rank martial artist would find it difficult to resist. Ordinary martial artists will definitely die if they touch it." "Miasma?" He Hanqing's expression was solemn. As for He Lily in his arms, her pretty face was pale and she looked flustered. At this moment, she was hugging He Hanqing's waist tightly. She did not make a sound, as if she had been frightened out of her wits. After all, no one had expected such a huge amount of highly toxic miasma to suddenly erupt from behind the stone door. If He Hanqing had not been there, He Lily would have been melted into a pile of ashes by the miasma. Not even her bones would be left. There are 4 stone doors left. This means that one of them must be the life door. Although they were surrounded by a large amount of miasma, Faerun still stood in front of the bronze disc. His gaze was fixed on the Big Dipper on it, and he did not retreat. The astrological trajectory in the northwest direction was not the life door to the main hall. This meant that the life door to the main hall existed in the 4 astrological trajectories: northeast, southeast, southwest, and center. As long as he moved the Big Dipper on the bronze disc and placed its handle on the corresponding astrological trajectory, the life door would be opened. On the other hand, if he failed to open it, he would trigger the death door and bring unknown danger, just like the terrifying miasma that was currently shrouding the area. Continue. Faerun made up his mind. As he activated his protective origin power and Overlord Mageweth to protect himself, he continued to move the Big Dipper on the bronze disc. Wealth came from danger. Opportunity and danger had always coexisted. Whether it was entering the main hall to search for treasures or to save people, he could not back down easily. Otherwise, all his efforts would be for naught. Chapter 672. Just as Faerun was focused on studying the ancient astrological disk, the surrounding miasma started to spread towards them. Tsk, tsk, tsk. The ear-piercing sound of poison corroding the air rang out all around Faerun's body. In the next moment, even his protective yuan power started to melt. If it wasn't for the Overlord's magic rune, he probably wouldn't have been able to hold on for more than 5 seconds. What a powerful miasma! Even with my protective origin energy, it can't even last for a second. Looking at this scene, Faerun's eyelids twitched violently as his heart trembled in fear. If it wasn't for the Overlord's magic mark, he would have been melted by the miasma within a second. However, using the Overlord's magic mark to resist the miasma was only a temporary measure. With Faerun's origin energy cultivation of LV8 Martial King Realm, he could at most condense 50 Overlord's magic marks in his Dantian. Although the number was much more than before, it was still difficult for him to be completely immune to the miasma. At most, he could hold on for a while longer. Big Dipper shift northeast. Before the miasma entered his body, Faerun raised his hand and slammed it onto the ancient astrological disk. Boom! With the infusion of origin energy, the ancient Big Dipper constellation moved again. Crack, crack, crack. The handle of the Alioth, Mizar, and Alcade stars gradually shifted from the northwest to the northeast. At the same time, outside the main hall, the He siblings were also in danger as they were surrounded by the endless miasma. Pure Yang 9 Flames technique. Facing the incoming miasma, He Hanqing's face was solemn. He put his palms together and instantly gathered all the origin energy in his body. Boom! In the next moment, a majestic flame energy swept out from He Hanqing's body and enveloped He Lily. It shone with a dazzling red light as if they were in a flame domain. Even the air was emitting a burning smell. Tsk, tsk, tsk. In the face of such a powerful flame domain, the surrounding miasma, which was originally unstoppable, retreated slightly. A large amount of miasma evaporated in an instant, turning into gray rain that dripped onto the limestone floor. It's working! Seeing the surrounding miasma recede, He Hanqing's face lit up. What he practiced was the pure Yang 9 Flames technique, which was handed down in his family. Although the level of this technique was not high, only at the middle of the heaven level, which was far inferior to Faerun's holy level technique, the record of the Overlord of Western Chu. However, it could make the original energy of a warrior carry the pure Yang flame, which could restrain a part of the evil spirit in the world. Evil beings such as miasma, plagues, and even some soul bodies could be restrained by He Hanqing's pure Yang flames. Brother! Be careful! However, before He Hanqing could be happy for too long, He Lily's anxious shout came from the side. In the next moment, a large number of strange poisonous insects flew out. There were all kinds of colorful insects, and they instantly filled the entire main hall. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Dense poisonous insects swept out, covering the sky and covering the earth. It was like a swarm of locusts, a black mass, letting out ear-piercing screeches that sent chills down one's spine. Poisonous insects. Damn it. It's the door of death again. Seeing this scene, Faerun cursed in his heart. He hurriedly turned the ancient astrological compass around, trying to reposition it and change its trajectory. To hit 2 doors of death consecutively, his luck was really unparalleled. He almost played himself to death. Click. The constellation moved, the center direction, the door of death. Click. The constellation moved, the southeast direction, the door of death again. Unknowingly, 2 hours had passed. After going through several life and death situations, Faerun and the rest finally found the exact location of the Big Dipper constellation. They moved the handle to the southwest direction and found the hidden door of life. At the same time, they opened the key to enter the ancient weapon refining sect's main hall. This damn place is too dangerous. We've finally entered the main hall. After going through a life and death situation, He Hanqing also sat down on the ground, panting heavily. What's that? In the next moment, his gaze was attracted to a strangely shaped ancient cauldron in the middle of the main hall. What a huge ancient cauldron! He Lily let out a gasp of surprise. Is this thing an alchemy cauldron? Following the two's gaze, Faerun's eyes also turned cold. In the middle of the main hall, there was a strangely shaped, tall and domineering ancient cauldron. The 2 sides of the ancient cauldron were slightly rusted, and around the body of the cauldron were exquisite coiling dragon and tautai patterns, looking quite extraordinary. In the middle of the ancient cauldron, there were 3 simple black words, Cast Dragon Cauldron. Cast Dragon Cauldron. What a domineering name! Faerun secretly exclaimed in his heart. Chapter 673. I didn't expect that there would be an ancient cauldron here. It seems that there are indeed many opportunities hidden in the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect. He Hanqing said. As a half-step mystique venerable, although his strength was not as good as Faerun's, he was from the He family of Tianfeng City, so his eyesight was not low. At that moment, he could tell that the dragon-casting cauldron in front of him was extraordinary. It was not an ordinary alchemy cauldron. After all, a cauldron that could be collected by an ancient sect like the ancient weapon refining sect was obviously of high quality. Brother, although this dragon-casting cauldron is of extraordinary value, its size is a little too big. It seems to weigh at least dozens of tons. He Lily turned to look at He Hanqing and said with some difficulty, It seems like we can't move it with just the few of us? It's also a problem. Hearing this, He Hanqing also hesitated for a moment. The dragon-casting cauldron in front of them was too big. It was at least dozens of tons. Even if a few adults worked together, it would be difficult to move it by even half an inch. Moreover, the spirit rings in their hands were not of a high grade. They were only ordinary top-grade spirit rings and had not reached the earth grade. The internal space was not enough to accommodate the dragon-casting cauldron in front of them. Earth-grade spirit rings were generally rare, and the internal space was several times that of top-grade spirit rings. However, He Hanqing and He Lily did not have spirit rings of this level. You two, come over and take a look. Just as the two of them were in a dilemma, Faerun's voice came from the side. Faerun stood quietly in front of the huge dragon-casting cauldron. His gaze was carefully examining the inscriptions within, his eyes flickering. Brother Fei, what are you doing? He Hanqing was a little puzzled. He Lily, who was following beside him, also looked over curiously. What's wrong? This thing is not some alchemy cauldron, but a casting spirit cauldron. Facing the confusion of the two, Faerun grinned and said indifferently, Casting spirit cauldron? The two of them were stunned for a moment, as if they still did not understand. Yes. In the next moment, Faerun nodded again and explained unhurriedly, as the name suggests, This thing is a special spiritual cauldron that specializes in forging spiritual treasure magical artifacts, and even high-grade spiritual treasures. As we all know, in order to create a qualified spiritual treasure, other than the weapon refiner's own strength, the weapon refiner's materials, the demon core, and the cauldron to condense spirit chi are all indispensable. If I'm not mistaken, this casting dragon cauldron is the casting spirit cauldron that the ancient weapon refining sect used to forge high-grade spirit treasures. At this point, Fei Ren's eyes were burning with passion. As the saying goes, spirit dawn are easy to obtain, but treasures are hard to find. For a martial artist, it was not easy to find a powerful natal spiritual treasure that was suitable for him or her. Although Fei Ren already had the mid-grade earth-grade spirit treasure, the star-shattering blade, the grade of the star-shattering blade could only be said to be ordinary. It could not be considered the world's top grade, let alone a peerless spirit treasure. Therefore, he planned to raise the grade of the star-shattering blade, causing its power to increase by another level. The key to increasing the power and grade of the spirit treasure lay in the casting dragon cauldron in front of him. Not only could the casting dragon cauldron forge spirit treasures, it could also refine spirit treasures and cause them to undergo a new transformation. Its power had increased greatly. This thing is a good treasure, I can't just leave it here and waste it, Fei Ren thought to himself. From the very beginning, he had seen through the extraordinariness of the casting dragon cauldron. He had already planned to level up the star-shattering blade. Brother Fei, what do you plan to do? If we leave this cauldron here, there's a high chance that we won't be able to take it away. As if he had also seen through Fei Ren's covetousness towards the casting dragon cauldron, Hanqing tactfully gave up on fighting for it and asked. After all, although the casting dragon cauldron was rare, it was useless to him. Furthermore, if they wanted to save Hijinwu, the two siblings would have to rely on Fei Ren's strength. Naturally, I won't carry this giant with me. There's no need for that, and there's no need to go through so much trouble. Fei Ren smiled and glanced at Hanqing and Lily beside him. I plan to stay here and use the power of the casting dragon cauldron to level up my spirit treasure, the star-shattering blade. As for the promise I made to you siblings, it still remains. Once the star-shattering blade has been upgraded, I will go with you to save them. I see. Hearing this, Hanqing was somewhat surprised, but his expression returned to normal. It turned out that the other party had been aiming to use the casting dragon cauldron to upgrade his natal spirit treasure from the beginning. There's nothing I can do about it. This casting dragon cauldron has lost a lot of spirit energy, and its internal structure and external cauldron body are also damaged on a large scale. I don't think it can be used many times. Fei Ren nodded and said apologetically. It wasn't that he didn't want to save them immediately, but it was a rare opportunity. Due to the passage of time, the casting dragon cauldron in front of him was already broken. At most, it could support the spirit treasure to level up once, and then it would be completely destroyed. Fei Ren naturally didn't want to let go of such a good opportunity. Although the star-shattering blade in his hand was only an earth-grade middle-rank spirit treasure, if it was reforged by the casting dragon cauldron, there was a high chance that it could level up and break through. Its power would increase by more than a few times, and it might even break through to the heaven-grade spirit treasure level. Whoosh! Taking out the star-shattering blade from his back, Fei Ren took a deep breath as the crescent-shaped blade appeared and shone with a cold light. Let's begin. Clang! After sending the star-shattering blade into the casting dragon cauldron in front of him, strands of pure origin energy emerged from Fei Ren's dantian. Then, it wrapped around the casting dragon cauldron in front of him like a white ball of light. Although Fei Ren didn't know how to refine weapons and didn't know anything about it, he had the casting dragon cauldron in his hand. Therefore, it was a piece of cake for him to reforge and upgrade the star-shattering blade. Unlike the weapon refiner who used a spirit cauldron to personally forge a spirit treasure, it was very easy for an ordinary martial warriors to upgrade their own spirit treasure, as long as they had a casting spirit cauldron in their hands. The martial warriors poured their own origin energy into the casting spirit cauldron, and the spirit chi contained within the spirit cauldron would resonate with the martial warrior's own origin energy, causing the spirit treasure to automatically transform and level up. After all, the difficulty of forging a spirit treasure and upgrading a spirit treasure was different. The latter was easier, and with the help of the casting spirit cauldron, even a layman like Fei Ren who knew nothing about the way of refining could recast and upgrade his own spirit treasure. Unknowingly, another hour passed. 1. Rumble. Under Fei Ren's nervous gaze, the casting dragon cauldron, which was wrapped in a white light of origin energy, also throbbed. Then, the cauldron trembled and spat out a large amount of white mist. In the next moment, a powerful spiritual energy fluctuation spread out in all directions. A crescent-shaped silver moon blade quietly floated above the casting dragon cauldron. The cold light was dazzling and threatening. The blade was as sharp as snow, causing people to shudder in fear. Success! Seeing this scene, Fei Ren was stunned at first, but then a trace of ecstasy appeared on his face. Chapter 674. Gotcha! The moment the star-shattering blade came out of the furnace, the already damaged dragon casting cauldron also cracked like a spider web. Bang! In the next moment, the entire dragon casting cauldron also exploded, turning into broken bricks and rubble on the ground. Only a cloud of white mist lingered in the hall for a long time. After successfully recasting and upgrading the star-shattering blade, the last trace of spirit energy contained in the dragon casting cauldron was completely exhausted, turning it into a scrap. However, although he had lost a rare spirit casting cauldron, Fei Ren was not sad at all, because he had another heaven-grade spirit treasure in his hands. Low-tier heaven-grade. Raising his hand to circulate his origin energy, Fei Ren held the brand-new star-shattering blade tightly in his palm, his face filled with excitement. After a round of recasting and forging by the dragon casting cauldron, the star-shattering blade had actually transformed from a mid-tier earth-grade spirit treasure to a low-tier heaven-grade spirit treasure. Its power had increased by more than several times, which was something he did not expect at first. As expected, after the dragon casting cauldron's refinement, the star-shattering blade's grade has not only greatly increased, but its power has also far surpassed that of an earth-grade spirit treasure. It is comparable to a low-tier heaven-grade spirit treasure. Feeling strands of powerful spirit energy coming from the blade, Fei Ren took a deep breath and calmed his excited mood. First, he obtained a small piece of spirit-accumulating bone in the ancient city, then he successfully upgraded the star-shattering blade in the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect, transforming it into a true heaven-grade spirit treasure. This trip to the Emperor's Pit was not in vain. It could be said that there were many opportunities. Congratulations, Brother Fei. On the side, He Hanqing also stepped forward and cupped his hands, his face filled with emotion. Like the other party, he also had a natal spirit treasure, but it was only an ordinary low-tier earth-grade spirit treasure. It could not be compared to the star-shattering blade in Fei Ren's hand, let alone a low-tier heaven-grade spirit treasure. Moreover, under close observation, He Hanqing could also feel the sharpness and power of the star-shattering blade in Fei Ren's hand. Even if Fei Ren did not use his origin energy, just a light swing of the blade would probably be able to easily cut the hardest diamond in the world into two halves. What a good blade! He Hanqing couldn't help but feel a little envious. As a member of the younger generation, he was also one of the famous geniuses around the Imperial Pit. Although he did not have the qualifications to enter the Grandmaster list, and could not be compared to the true martial geniuses on the list, He Hanqing was also very eager for opportunities. Right now, if he could obtain some treasures and opportunities in the ancient crafting sect ruins, he might be able to break through the shackles of his cultivation, comprehend his life chart ability, and step into mystique venerable rank. Brother, the aura Dad left on the soul lamp has weakened again. At this moment, Lily's exclamation came from the side. What? Hearing this, Hanqing's expression changed slightly. Father, how is the situation? Compared to before, the aura that Father left in the soul lamp has weakened by more than half. Now it's less than 30%. Lily said with a tearful voice. There's no other way. I can only follow the soul lamp's guidance to find my father's location. Hanqing's expression was solemn as he looked at the other side of the main hall. There was a passageway there that seemed to lead deeper into the hall. The closer they got, the stronger the soul lamp in Lily's hand felt. It was obvious that the ancient formation that trapped He Jinwu was not far away from them. Beside them, Fei Ren was still rummaging through the main hall, looking for treasures, herbs, and vitality stones as if he had nothing to do with this. What's this? Fei Ren was surprised when he took out a few pieces of tattered blueprints from a bronze box. These are crafting blueprints? Fei Ren glanced at them briefly and saw that there were some numinous treasures, hidden weapons, mechanisms, and even the method to create puppet. It seemed to be some kind of original blueprint for crafting weapons. In some aspects, crafting blueprints were not inferior to the casting dragon cauldron. Brother Fei. Not far away, Hanqing's shout interrupted Fei Ren's thoughts. I can only take these things with me and study them when I get back. Seeing this, Fei Ren also put away the miscellaneous refining blueprints, then leaped up and left, following the footsteps of the He brother and sister. At the same time, in the Dachu dynasty, the Empress Palace, there was not a single person in the magnificent hall. Although the decorations in the hall were luxurious, it was unavoidably cold and lonely. It lacked a trace of life in the mortal world. Sigh. A sigh resounded out as a beautiful woman with a slender figure and a graceful figure laid silently on the phoenix bed in the hall. The woman wore a light golden phoenix robe, a pearl hairpin and silver ornaments in her hair, and her beautiful eyes were like pills while her smile was like a flower. She seemed graceful, luxurious, and charming. Fei Ren, when will you come back? You said you'd come back to see me. Ah, you be *starred. Don't tell me you've forgotten your promise with me. The woman in the phoenix robe fiddled with the sachet in her hand as she muttered. Her beautiful eyebrows were slightly knitted, as if she was a little wife who had been wronged. At this moment, if someone was present, they would be surprised to find that the woman in the phoenix robe was none other than the Empress of Great Chu, whose name resounded throughout the entire Dachu dynasty, causing the neighboring Dongling province, Beigong Kingdom, and other dynasties to tremble in fear. The dignified Empress of Great Chu, an existence who controlled the life and death of the world, was actually alone in an empty hall, missing a young man. In the imaginations of countless people in the Dachu dynasty, this was simply impossible. Your Majesty, just as Chu Qian was deep in thought, a young palace maid slowly walked up from the side. She knelt on the ground with a respectful face and a cautious tone. She seemed to be the Empress' personal palace maid. Little Qing, have you completed the task I've given you? Seeing this, Chu Qian retracted her thoughts and regained her usual dignity. Yes, the young palace maid nodded and said respectfully, Your Majesty, that lady called Chun Tingting has been invited to the mental cultivation hall. She is waiting for Your Majesty's summons. Very good. Immediately summon her to this consort. This consort has something to discuss with her. Hearing this, Chu Qian waved her hand. Yes, the young palace maid slowly retreated out of the hall. Wu and Town's Taizhong sect leader has arrived. After a while, along with the palace maid's shout, a young woman dressed in a blue and white martial robe with an emerald jade on her waist also stepped into the hall. The young woman had a capable ponytail, her hair was as white as snow, and her egg-like face was exquisite and beautiful. Her temperament was extraordinary, and she looked very valiant. Obviously, she was also a martial artist. Seeing Chu Qian lazily lying on the phoenix chair, the young woman hurriedly knelt down on one knee and cupped her hands respectfully. "I am Chen Tingting. Greetings, Your Majesty." Although she was now the leader of a sect, and was not weak, in the Dachu dynasty, she was still a small character. Naturally, she could not be compared to Chu Qian. After all, the other party was the ruler of the Dachu dynasty, the current empress of the Great Chu. "You are Fei Ren's former junior sister?" Looking at the valiant and straightforward Chen Tingting, who looked like a heroine, Chu Qian's eyes lit up. In the next moment, she slowly stood up and walked to the other party. "Chen Tingting, I've heard Fei Ren mention you before. You are indeed a valiant heroine." Chu Qian retracted her usual dignified expression and revealed a rare beautiful smile as she said softly, Your Majesty." Hearing this, Chen Tingting was also stunned for a moment. Her face was astonished, and she said somewhat flattered, "Many years ago, before this little girl became the head of the Iron Palm School, the Fei Ren that the Empress mentioned was this little girl's senior. However, as early as a few decades ago, senior brother Fei Ren left Wu and Town's Taizhong sect to cultivate. Since then, no one knows where he went. I wonder why Your Majesty is looking for me this time." Chapter 675. It's nothing. I just want to chat with you casually. You don't have to be too restrained. Seeing that Chen Tingting was indeed Fei Ren's junior sister from the same sect, Chu Qian smiled and said, "All these years, I heard that your Iron Palm sect has developed well in Wu, Town, and even the entire Azure Sun County. There are many young disciples in the sect, and some of them are good seedlings for martial arts." It had been many years since Fei Ren left, and she had gradually grown from the willful princess of the past to the Empress of Chu whose name shook the world. Not only had she restored the former glory of the Chu clan, but she had also allowed the Chu dynasty to expand its territory and become even more powerful. Although Chu Qian and Fei Ren did not reach the stage of giving their bodies to each other, their relationship was not ordinary. It was more than friends but not yet lovers. The days when the two of them were exiled together and supported each other were still vivid in her heart. Therefore, when she saw Fei Ren's junior sister from the same sect, Chu Qian also subconsciously felt a trace of admiration. "Your Majesty is too kind. I don't dare." The Iron Palm sect was able to develop over the years without the help of the other elders. Facing Chu Qian's praise, Chen Tingting was a little flattered. She lowered her head and cupped her hands. Her tone was very humble. Although she didn't know the relationship between her former senior brother Fei Ren and the Empress of the Chu dynasty, and why the Empress of the Chu dynasty would frequently mention him, Fei Ren was only the sect master of a small sect in a county of the Chu dynasty, so she naturally didn't dare to associate with him. Seeing that the other party was a little fearful, Chu Qian was also stunned for a moment. Then, she smiled gently and said, "Miss Chen, Fei Ren was my friend back then. Since you are his junior sister from the same sect, you are naturally my guest. You don't have to be so restrained. Come, you'll be in charge of telling this consort about Fei Ren from back then, right? I'm a little curious." After saying that, Chu Qian walked forward naturally and gently held Chen Tingting's jade-like hand. "Okay, Your Majesty." Seeing this, Chen Tingting was a little surprised, but she still nodded in the next moment. "That's right. How is the foundation of the Iron Palm Gate under your command?" Chu Qian seemed to have suddenly recalled something as she turned her head to look at Chen Tingting. "Your Majesty, the Iron Palm Gate is currently only a first-rate force and has yet to be ranked. Compared to the other ancient sects of the Dachu dynasty, there is still a large gap," Chen Tingting explained slowly. Over the years, under her governance, the Iron Palm School had developed rapidly, rising from a nameless third-rate force to a first-rate force. There were no less than a dozen Middle Unity realm experts in the school. As for Chun Tingting herself, she was a high-level star realm cultivator. Her origin energy cultivation had already reached the 4th level of the star realm. She wasn't considered weak within the Dacha dynasty, and could be considered a hero. However, compared to the established 9 ranks of the great families in the Dacha dynasty, such as the Qingyuan sect and the Lingjian school, the Iron Palm school's foundation and power were much weaker. It was difficult for them to contend against the Qingyuan sect. Just a first-rate force? Chu Qian's beautiful eyes flashed, and she was somewhat surprised. Back then, the martial Dao prodigy who was able to nurture a figure like Fei Ren, who stirred up the entire Dacha dynasty and even the 4 countries at the border of the southeast region, came from a mere first-rate force. It couldn't even compare to the 9 ranks of the great families. This was the first time Chu Qian knew about Fei Ren's background, and she was also very surprised. Yes, Chun Tingting said respectfully again, this little girl doesn't dare to lie to your majesty. Everything I said is true, The foundation of a first-rate force is still too weak. Fei Ren is my friend after all. This is simply too embarrassing. Chu Qian gently rested her chin on her hand and seemed to be deep in thought. In the next moment she said, how about this, pass down my decree. From today onwards, the Iron Palm Gate will be conferred as the 9 ranks of the great families. All the cultivation resources and primordial stones and treasures that they lack will be provided by the imperial court. As long as I am still alive, your Iron Palm Gate can send people to the capital at any time and place to seek an audience. If there are any difficulties, I will definitely help. Chu Qian made a promise very straightforwardly. Promoted to the 9 ranks of the great families. Chun Tingting, who was at the side, was stunned on the spot. What was going on? This was simply like a big pie falling from the sky. From the sudden summons to the great Chu Empress in front of him personally promising to unconditionally support the Iron Palm Gate to be promoted to the 9 ranks of the great families, it all came out of the blue. Your Majesty, is what you said true? Everything that happened in front of him was like a dream. Chun Tingting only regained her senses after a long time. Her tone was still filled with disbelief. Of course, when have I ever bragged? From today onwards, your Iron Palm Gate will be protected by the imperial court and the Chu clan. As long as I am here, no one will dare to provoke you. With a light snort, Chu Qian placed her hands on her hips and said proudly, as if she had regained her usual unruly and willful princess attitude. Thank you, your majesty. Hearing this, Chun Tingting also hurriedly knelt down on one knee, her pretty face filled with excitement. Eldest senior brother, what exactly did you experience after leaving the Iron Palm Gate? Even the current emperor is your close friend. The figure of Fei Ren when he left appeared in her mind, and Chun Tingting's heart was filled with emotions. It had already been 7 to 8 years since the Iron Palm sect had been massacred. Old sect Master Guohuai, Elder Li and the others had all fallen in that calamity. At that time, the key person who had supported the Iron Palm sect from being completely destroyed was Fei Ren. If it wasn't for Fei Ren using his life to persuade the Night Devil Fairy to retreat, not only would the Iron Palm Gate be destroyed, even she wouldn't have lived to this day, much less become the new sect master of the Iron Palm Gate. After a few hours, Chun Tingting also left the imperial city with Chu Qian's imperial edict and title. Sect Master. As soon as he left the city, a figure flashed past him and landed in front of Chun Tingting. He cupped his fists and said, "Your subordinates have been waiting here for Sect Master for a long time. I wonder why Her Majesty has specially summoned you to the palace?" The person who came was dressed in a green robe. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. His thin face seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of life. It was Gu Jin, who had a grudge with Fei Ren in the past. However, many years had passed, and the grudges of the past had long since disappeared with the wind. The current Gujin was the vice-sect master of the Iron Palm Gate, one of Chen Tingting's right-hand men, and was highly regarded. It's nothing. It's just that Her Majesty wants to inquire about Fei Ren's eldest senior brother, Chen Tingting said. Eldest senior brother Fei Ren? Could it be that eldest senior brother has returned? Hearing this, Gu Jin was stunned at first, then his expression turned to one of deep surprise. When Fei Ren left Wu An town, he had entrusted the future of the Iron Palm Gate to them. Now, many years had passed, and the Iron Palm Gate had developed rapidly. However, they had never seen any trace of Fei Ren again. I don't know either. Perhaps eldest senior brother is now training in the outside world, and is not on the same path as us. Chen Tingting shook her head and smiled. An imperceptible bitterness appeared on her beautiful face. Once upon a time, she had developed feelings for that person. However, it was only her own wishful thinking. The concubine had feelings, but the man had no feelings for her. At the same time, in the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect, deep in the main hall, tap, 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 following the guidance of the soul lamp, Fei Ren and the others also gradually went deeper and deeper. Finally, they came to the entrance of an ancient dungeon. The dungeon was lonely and secluded. The dome above was dripping with water, and the heavy iron chain hanging at the door had long been broken. It looked like it had been here for some years, and there were no traces of people. Brother, there's no mistake. Father is in here. Glancing at the entrance of the dungeon, Lily said with certainty. At this point, the green soul lamp in her hand had reached its peak. Clearly, He Jinwu was trapped in this nameless dungeon. Chapter 676. There's no time to lose. Let's go in and save Father. He Hanqing took a deep breath and walked toward the entrance of the dungeon. Wait! However, in the next moment, he was stopped by Fei Ren, who was behind him. Brother Fei. He Hanqing was puzzled. Fei Ren's figure flashed and came to his side. At the same time, he looked around the entrance of the dungeon and said in a low voice, "There's something wrong with the aura of this place. There might be some kind of formation. I think we should be careful." He had noticed earlier that the entrance of the dungeon was shrouded in an evil and mysterious aura. It did not fit in with the surrounding environment. It was exactly the same as when they first entered the main hall of the ancient weapon refining sect. It's this strange evil aura again. Fei Ren's expression was solemn and he was very cautious. Fei Ren, is Father trapped in the ancient formation of this deep dungeon? Lily asked anxiously. Maybe, I'm not too sure. Anyway, this place is very dangerous. Fei Ren paused for a moment and said, "Let it come out and explore the way first." As soon as he said that, Fei Ren raised his hand and touched the spirit ring on his finger. Swoosh! In the next moment, a white light flashed and Puppet Little White, covered in thick bone armor, appeared out of thin air. Its eyes were cold and its face was pale. Its limbs were muscular and strong. It was no different from an ordinary human. Its strength was also infinitely close to that of a human mystique venerable. However, Little White still hadn't developed intelligence. At this moment, it didn't say a word, and its movements were slightly stiff. The evolution failed? Seeing this, Fei Ren was a little surprised. Then, a look of confusion appeared on his face. Strange, how could this be? It had already used a piece of the spirit accumulating bone to successfully transform into a human, but it still had not gained sentience. This was unacceptable to Fei Ren. After all, he had spent a lot of effort to find a piece of rare spirit accumulating bone. Could it be that the power of this small piece of spirit accumulating bone is only enough to help Little White increase its strength, but not enough to help it develop intelligence and become a real human? This thought suddenly appeared in Fei Ren's mind. In the next moment, he fell into deep thought. If he was not mistaken, He would probably need a piece of spirit-accumulating bone or other treasures of heaven and earth that contain spiritual chi as a substitute if he wanted Little White to develop intelligence and become a human being. Little White, go. Collecting his thoughts, Faerun raised his hand. Whoosh! In the next moment, the puppet Whitey also held a pair of sharp bone blades in its hands and directly charged toward the entrance of the dungeon, not far away. It had obviously received Faerun's orders and went forward alone to scout the way. Although it hasn't completely evolved, Puppet Whitey's current strength is comparable to a human mystique venerable rank. I can only think of a way in the future. It was more important to enter the dungeon to save people. Faerun did not have the time to search for a piece of spirit-accumulating bone. Moreover, a treasure like a spirit-accumulating bone was extremely rare. It was basically priceless in the outside world. Even if one had primordial stones, it was not something that could be easily obtained. Clang! Clang! Puppet Whitey rushed to the entrance of the dungeon alone. It then waved the bone blades in its hands and cut off the iron chains in no time. It then kicked the door open, revealing the eerie dungeon passageway. Boom! When the door collapsed, Puppet Whitey withdrew its bone blades and quietly retreated to the side, as if it was waiting for Faerun's next instructions. Nothing out of the ordinary happened throughout the entire process. The entire process was clean and efficient. As for the power of the formation that Faerun was initially wary of, it did not activate. It was as if there was no ancient formation in this dungeon. Nothing? Faerun reached out and scratched his face. Was it my imagination? However, the strange aura that shrouded the entrance of the dungeon was still there. This made Faerun even more suspicious. Even if his intuition was wrong, the resonance from the immortal refining divine cauldron in his dantian would not be wrong. This place was still a little strange. Brother Fei, there doesn't seem to be any danger. Let's go in and save people first. Beside him, He Hanqing also opened his mouth. His face was still a little bewildered. At first, he also thought that He Jinwu was trapped in a formation in the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect. Moreover, this formation was in the dungeon in front of him. Now, it seemed that this was not the case. Brother, you seem to have gotten false information again. There is no formation in this place. Not to mention people, you can't even see a bug, He Lily complained. He Hanqing's face was a little embarrassed. Let's not talk about this first. Let's go. As his voice fell, he also leaped into the deep dungeon. In the next moment, Faerun and He Lily hurriedly followed. As for the puppet Little White, it was once again stored in Faerun's spirit ring to be used in a surprise attack. After all, a puppet whose strength was comparable to a human mystique venerable rank expert was rare. Deep in the dungeon. Rumble! As soon as Faerun and the others stepped into one of the slightly larger cells, a loud bang came from the gate beside them. Swoosh! In the next moment, a cold wind blew as several black shadows flew toward the three of them. Be careful! Faerun narrowed his eyes. An Overlord Mageweth appeared on his left arm. At the same time, he threw a punch at the black shadows. Bam! Crack, crack! The sound of a heavy collision rang out. In the next moment, the black shadows were sent flying by Faerun's punch. They fell to the ground and broke into two halves on the spot. There was a series of mechanical sounds as they revealed their true appearance. Crack, crack, crack! The black shadows were not big. They were only half the height of a person. They were shaped like a bird with an ink-like head. Their entire body was covered in brownish-yellow joints and mechanical parts. They looked like a finely carved wooden bird that had been born with intelligence. Similar to this wooden bird, there were more than 10 black shadows that attacked Faerun and the others. At the moment, they surrounded the three of them in the cell and emitted a strong sense of hostility. This is a puppet? Seeing the true appearance of the black shadows that attacked them, Faerun was slightly surprised. Why did this thing look similar to the puppet Little White in his hands? However, the mechanical wooden bird before him was slightly weaker. It was only at the martial king realm. He could easily kill it. It's not a puppet. It's a mechanical beast. He Hanqing, who was beside him, said. I didn't expect that after the ancient weapon refining sect was destroyed so many years ago, this thing still exists. Although the mechanical wooden bird before him was exquisitely made and looked similar to the puppet Little White in Fei Ren's hands, its strength was much weaker. At the same time, it was not a puppet. It was a Mahist mechanical beast that was unique to the Mahist branch. As for the Mahist branch, they were the rulers of the ancient weapon refining sect. The sect masters of the ancient weapon refining sect were all descendants of the Mahist branch. They were proficient in weapon refining and mechanical beast craftsmanship. Everyone respectfully called them Mozi. However, following the destruction of the ancient weapon refining sect, the Mahist branch, along with the mechanical beast craftsmanship in their hands, were also lost. There were no traces left behind. He Hanqing only knew a little about these rumors from the ancestral teachings left behind by his family. Therefore, when he saw the Mahist mechanical beast reappear, he was very surprised. It was as if the explorer Columbus had discovered a new continent in North America. There's a group of Mahist mechanical wooden birds guarding this dungeon. If that's the case, Father is most likely trapped by these things, he Hanqing thought to himself. Chapter 677. Ka Ka Ka. At this moment, the mechanical wooden birds attacked again. There were more than 10 of them, and they seemed to be covering the sky. Swoosh. One of the larger mechanical wooden birds opened its sharp wooden beak and pounced towards He Lily, who was behind it. Pure Yang 9 Flames technique. Facing the incoming danger, He Lily's heart skipped a beat. She immediately leaped to the side and dodged the attack of the mechanical wooden bird. At the same time, she struck out with her palm. Swoosh. Rumble. The palm energy swept across. Origin energy and flames danced in the air and instantly turned into a red ribbon. It devoured the mechanical wooden bird completely and turned it into charred powder on the ground. Instant kill in one move. He Lily's origin energy cultivation was not very high. It was only at LV6 Martial King realm. However, she also cultivated the heaven-class middle-level skill, Pure Yang 9 Flames technique, which was passed down in the family of the He family in Tianfeng City. Although her Pure Yang 9 Flames technique was not as good as her brother He Hanqing's, it was more than enough to deal with the Mo family's mechanical beasts that were only at the Martial King realm. Sister, are you okay? He Hanqing also repelled the siege of a few mechanical wooden bird. He leaped and came to the front of the other party. Brother, I'm fine. He Lily nodded, indicating that she was fine. These mechanical wooden birds don't seem to be very strong, and they don't have intelligence. They are probably the guards of this dungeon. That's why we were attacked by them. Hearing this, He Hanqing did not speak. He was deep in thought. Although what she said was similar to what he had guessed at the beginning, according to the ancestral teachings left behind by the He family's ancestors, the ancient weapon refining sect that was famous in the northern continent had a strong foundation. The Mo family's mechanical beasts were naturally not that simple. The mechanical wooden birds that attacked them were only the lowest level of the Mo family's mechanical beasts. They were the work of the disciples and were pitifully weak. Compared to the high-level mechanical beasts that were made by the elders of the sect or even the masters of the Mo family, they were nothing. Sister, we can't be careless. There are probably more powerful mechanical beasts in the depths of this dungeon. Thinking of this, He Hanqing cautiously said in a low voice. Boom. Crack. On the other side, Fei Ren also slashed the star-shattering blade in his hand towards the ground. In an instant, a sky-blue earth-shattering blade chi slashed out, shattering all the remaining mechanical wooden birds around the cell into dust. The scene was a mess. Although these mechanical wooden birds were of excellent workmanship and belonged to the lost Mahist mechanical beasts, Feyrin had no intention of collecting them. Therefore, these mechanical beasts were only refined by the ordinary disciples of the ancient crafting school. They were too weak to be of any help to him. They were not even as useful as Little White's fingers. Unless it was an elder-level figure of the ancient weapon-refining sect or a mighty figure like the great son of Mo back then who personally refined the Mo family's mechanical beasts, only then would they be able to catch Feyrin's eyes. And Feyrin turned his head to look at the other exit of the cell. He swung the star-shattering saber in front of him again. Trouble follows trouble. As soon as it subsides, he originally thought that the guards of this dungeon were just a bunch of weak mechanical wooden birds. Now it seemed that he was too naive. "Brother Fey, be careful. It's coming again." Hanqing's warning came from the side. Feyrin's face was solemn. The origin power in his body circulated again. At the same time, lines of Overlord Devil runes appeared around his body. Boom! Rumble! Accompanied by a thunderous explosion, a large number of black shadows swarmed in from all directions and charged into the cell. Crack crack! Mechanical wooden birds, wood spirit tigers, skywood eagles, Mahist black bears, black tortoise and vermilion bird, powerful Mahist mechanical beasts charged in one after another. Among them, there was no lack of high-level mechanical beasts that were comparable to human mystique, venerable realm martial artists. In an instant, they had surrounded Feyrin and the other two. Even though the area of the prison cell beneath their feet was very large and was the size of 2 soccer fields, when more than 100 Mahist mechanical beasts charged in, and they were all high-grade mechanical beasts at that, this formation and momentum was still too shocking. Almost instantly, the Mahist mechanical beasts filled the entire cell, and there was no way to retreat. Damn it! So many mechanical beasts! Seeing this, Feyrin's eyelids twitched and his face turned ugly. There were many Mahist mechanical beasts in the cell. At a rough glance, there were at least hundreds of them. Although his origin power cultivation had reached LV8 Martial King realm and he had many trump cards, his overall strength was comparable to a LV3 Mystique Venerable Realm martial artist. However, there was a time when his origin power would be exhausted. Even with the help of Puppet Whitey, it would not be easy to fight his way out of the encirclement. Therefore, fighting head-on was not the best plan. He had to find another way. "Brother Miss Lily, there are hundreds of Mahist mechanical beasts. This time, our situation is not good. I'm afraid we're going to die here," Feyrin said self-deprecatingly. "TSK. You're still in the mood to joke at a time like this." Lily glared at Feyrin and pursed her lips. Her face was filled with worry. After all, the Mahist mechanical beasts in the cell were not like the mechanical wooden birds that attacked them earlier. Not only were there more of them, but they were also stronger. Most of them were high-level mechanical beasts. Mechanical beasts such as the heavenly wood eagle, black tortoise, and vermilion bird were all high-level mechanical beasts. Ordinary ancient weapon refining sect disciples would not be able to refine them. Most of them were made by the sect elders. Compared to these high-level mechanical beasts, the mechanical wooden birds earlier were a pile of trash and could not be compared to them. Actually, although these Mahist mechanical beasts are strong, they all have corresponding weaknesses. It's not like we don't have any countermeasures. Hanqing, who had not spoken for a long time, spoke again with a serious face. "Is that true? Really?" Feyrin was a little surprised, but Hanqing's tone was very confident. However, at this critical moment, perhaps because he was too nervous and scared, he could not remember what the weaknesses of these Mahist mechanical beasts were. "Damn it! What is it again? Why can't I remember?" Hanqing's brain spun quickly. At the same time, beads of sweat dripped down from his forehead. His face was serious. He vaguely remembered that in the ancestral teachings left behind by his ancestors, although the Mahist mechanical beasts were strong, there were also ways to counter and break them. There's no way, seeing that he Hanqing could not remember at first. Feiren also shook his head. Scram! Feiren swung his blade and forced a few Mahist mechanical beasts to retreat. At the same time, he took out the puppet Little White from the spirit ring and protected the he siblings behind him. Clang! Clang! Crack, crack, crack! The puppet Little White had just appeared when it combined the two bone blades in its hands into one, after which it swung it toward the sky. It was like a large rotating sharp-blade windmill that instantly shattered dozens of Mo clan mechanical beasts that were attacking. It was extremely domineering in an instant. At the moment, Feiren could only buy some time for he Hanqing and delay these aggressive Mahist mechanical beasts until the other party found a way to break these Mahist mechanical beasts. Chapter 678. Rumble. Loud bangs resounded one after another. Just when Feiren and Whitey were in the midst of a fierce battle, another enormous skydome wood eagle charged over from the side. The skywood eagle was a high-level Mahist mechanical beast. Its overall strength was far superior to the mechanical wooden bird from before. It was comparable to a rank 1 mystique venerable realm warrior. Moreover, its target was none other than he Lily, who was hiding in the corner of the cell. After all, among the three of them, apart from Whitey, he Lily's cultivation was the weakest. Although these Mahist mechanical beasts did not have intelligence, they could sense that she had the weakest origin energy and was the easiest to deal with. Sister, watch out! When he Hanqing saw the heavenly wood eagle pouncing towards he Lily, he calmed himself down and cried out in alarm. Swoosh! In the next moment, he Hanqing dashed in the direction of his opponent. At the same time, origin energy surged around his body and burst out into balls of blazing red flames, forcing the skywood eagle's attack to retreat. Rumble! Beat! A huge collision sound rang out. In the next moment, the heavenly wood eagle flapped its wings and retreated, landing steadily at the back. At this moment, it was glaring at the he siblings like a tiger watching its prey. Its beast eyes, which were made of wooden beads, flickered with a dangerous and ominous glint. Boom! The flames gradually extinguished and the origin energy dispersed. At the same time, he Hanqing's slightly pale face was revealed. He gritted his teeth and clutched his empty left sleeve. He seemed to be in pain. Before he entered the dungeon, his left arm was crippled by the miasma and his strength was greatly reduced. Although he Hanqing was a half-step mystique venerable realm warrior, the loss of an arm had a great impact on a warrior. It was difficult for him to unleash his full strength. Therefore, in the fight with the skywood eagle, he had suffered a small loss and caused his old injury to relapse. Finally made it. Although his old injury had relapsed, he Hanqing heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that he Lily was fine. In the family, other than his father, the person closest to him was his sister, he Lily. She was his reverse scale, and he would not allow anyone to hurt her. Brother, are you all right? He Lily leaned in front of he Hanqing as well. She looked worriedly at he Hanqing's left sleeve. When she saw that his broken arm and old wounds were still there, she couldn't help but sob. Brother, it's all my fault. I'm so useless. Previously, in order to save her, she had already lost an arm. Now, she was dragging the team down, causing he Hanqing to be in danger again. Therefore, he Lily blamed herself in her heart. Silly girl, what nonsense are you spouting? Seeing this, he Hanqing frowned and knocked on his head. I'm your brother. It's my duty to protect you. Do you remember what I said to you when you were young? Ah? He Lily wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. She was at a loss. Brother, what is it? He Hanqing laughed helplessly. Of course it's to take good care of you on behalf of my late mother. As your big brother, I can't let you get hurt before you find a man you like. This is also our promise when we were young. Brother, why are you suddenly saying this? Hearing this, Lily was stunned for a moment. Then, she secretly glanced at Feyrin, who was in a bitter battle not far away. In the next moment, she quickly retracted her gaze, and her face instantly turned red. I'm afraid that this girl has fallen for Brother Fei. This scene naturally fell into He Hanqing's eyes, causing him to shake his head. It wasn't that he didn't like Feyrin. On the contrary, He Hanqing was afraid that Feyrin wouldn't like his own sister. After all, with the other party's talent and comprehension, as well as the terrifying strength he displayed, there was a high chance that he was a martial arts prodigy from a large sect. Their He family was only a small fifth-rank family in the Imperial Pit, and it was very likely that they wouldn't be able to reach him. On the other side, the fierce battle continued. The puppet Whitey alone was entangled by dozens of wood spirit tigers, dozens of mechanical wooden birds, and a black tortoise vermilion bird mechanical beast that was clumsy in speed but had astonishing defensive power. For a moment, the battle was locked in a stalemate. On the other hand, the situation on Fei Ren's side wasn't too optimistic either. He was also heavily surrounded by dozens of high-grade Mahist mechanical beasts. There were enemies all around him, and it was very difficult for him to free himself to protect the He siblings, let alone escape. Swoosh! Boom! With a single slash, he sent several wood spirit tigers flying, shattering their fangs and mechanisms. Feyrin also took the initiative to retreat to the edge of the cell, turning his head to look at the He siblings who were not far away. Are the two of you all right? Although Feyrin and the puppet Little White blocked most of the attacking Mo clan mechanical beasts, there were still a few fish that escaped the net and avoided him. They turned to attack the He siblings behind him, causing him a headache. Brother Fei, we're fine. He Hanqing nodded, indicating that he was fine. Just a moment ago, he finally recalled some of the methods to break the Mo clan mechanical beasts that were left behind by the He clan's old ancestor. Thank goodness! Seeing that the two of them were fine, Feyrin heaved a sigh of relief in his heart, but his face was still grave. Why are there more and more of these mechanical beasts? Could it be that they have the ability to repair themselves? Just a moment ago, Feyrin also noticed some abnormalities. The army of mechanical beasts in front of him seemed to have the ability to revive infinitely, even though most of the high-level mechanical beasts had already been destroyed by him and the puppet Little White. However, the army of mechanical beasts attacking from all sides of the cell did not show any signs of decreasing, and were still overwhelming. Crack crack! On the ground beside him, the wood spirit tiger that had been chopped into pieces by Feyrin suddenly stood up again, letting out a strange mechanical collision sound. At the same time, it drooped its broken mechanical head, which was extremely strange. Buzz buzz buzz! In the next moment, the chest of the cumbersome black tortoise vermilion bird at the back also emitted a faint and deep black glow, enveloping the severely damaged wood spirit tiger within it. After a few breaths, it actually recovered to its original state. Damn it! This group of mechanical beasts really do have the ability to revive. Seeing this scene, Feyrin also secretly cursed. Previously, he was only concerned about how to repel the siege of this group of mechanical beasts, and had neglected the fact that they could revive themselves. Looks like I can only continue to stall for time. Brute force alone is unable to deal with this group of Mo clan mechanical beasts in front of me. Glancing at the He clan's brother and sister behind him, Fei Ren's hand held the star-shattering blade tightly, and his face was grave. As the saying goes, if the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold. Currently, only the He clan's brother and sister knew how to deal with this group of Mo clan mechanical beasts in front of them. If the other party died, Feyrin himself would also most likely die. No matter how strong he was, he would not be able to fight against this endless army of mechanical beasts that did not know fear of death. Brother Fei, I have an idea. Just as Fei-Ren was about to attack again, He-Hanqing's somewhat excited voice sounded from behind him. What? Fei-Ren turned around to look, only to see He-Hanqing stretch out his hand and point at the center of the Mo clan mechanical beast army, shouting loudly, "It's there! The secret to dealing with these mechanical beasts is hidden on that cumbersome and incomparably huge black tortoise vermilion bird. This thing is the core of the entire mechanical beast army, and its chest is inlaid with a piece of ink magic stone with powerful spiritual qi and boundless energy. The ink magic stone is a kind of rare stone that contains powerful spiritual qi energy. As long as that piece of ink magic stone is removed, not to mention this black tortoise vermilion bird in front of us, even the top-grade mechanical beasts that the Mo clan's master personally refined in the past would be reduced to scrap metal. Moreover, they would not be able to revive themselves." At this point, He-Hanqing's voice was powerful, and his face was filled with determination. Chapter 679. Ink Magic Stone. So it's this thing that's supporting these Mahist mechanical beasts' movements and reviving time and time again. Fei-Ren was enlightened. The next moment, his gaze followed the direction that He-Hanqing was pointing at. He saw that the black tortoise vermilion bird mechanical beast was being protected by many of its kind. On its chest was an ink magic stone that flickered with black light. It was the energy core that supported its movement. Furthermore, the reason why the mechanical beasts that had been defeated by Fei-Ren and Little White were able to revive was also because of the ink magic stone on their chests. The ink magic stone that contained boundless spirit qi could quickly repair these high-level mechanical beasts. As long as we destroy that ink magic stone, these Mahist mechanical beasts will be defeated without a fight? Fei-Ren said without turning his head. He gripped the star-shattering blade in his hand tightly. The next moment, his dantian once again exploded with an extremely powerful spirit qi wave. Strands of white profound aura formed from pure energy enveloped Fei-Ren's entire body, projecting an afterimage, as if an overlord had appeared. That powerful aura also caused those Mahist mechanical beasts that had already been revived to retreat, not daring to approach. Yes. He-Hanqing nodded and said, other than destroying them, remove the ink magic stone that provides energy from the black tortoise vermilion bird's chest. These mechanical beasts will also stop moving and turn into scrap metal. Brother Fei, this thing is a rare natural stone. It contains a huge amount of spirit qi. The other party's tone was passionate, as if he was implying something. Fei-Ren retracted his gaze. He understood He-Hanqing's meaning. If that's the case, then I won't hold back. Coincidentally, Puppet Little White's evolution had reached a critical bottleneck. It was half a step away from transforming into a human. It was still one step away from transforming into a human and gaining sentience. He needed an opportunity to help Puppet Little White complete its transformation. Right now, if he could obtain an ink magic stone, Puppet Little White would have a chance to complete its evolution and become a real human. After all, like the spirit qi bone, the ink magic stone also contained boundless spirit qi. Otherwise, it would not be able to support hundreds of Mahist mechanical beasts' movements and continuous revival. Star Source / Break. Fei-Ren's face was cold as he slashed out with the star-breaking blade in his hand. Zing. Boom. In an instant, Yuan power swept out. It was accompanied by a sky-blue dazzling light that cut through the empty space. Countless sharp blade glows also shot out. They were just like 10,000 arrows that were shot together, attacking the many mechanical beasts opposite the prison cell. In an instant, the terrifying saber-light attack enveloped the entire area. Bang! Crack! Crack! Wherever the blade glow passed, it was a complete mess. Other than a small number of high-grade mechanical beasts like the wood spirit tiger and the skywood eagle, most of the mechanical beasts were also swallowed by the remaining power of the blade glow. They shattered on the spot and turned into dust. The might of Fei Ren's saber had almost wiped out 1/3 of the Mahist mechanical beasts in the prison. However, this was far from enough. His plan was to defeat all the mechanical beasts in front of him in one fell swoop, and then drag out the black tortoise vermilion bird mechanical beast that was hiding in the deepest part. At the same time, he would take the ink magic stone and end the battle once and for all. Brother Miss Lily, the two of you step back first. The power of the Overlord demonic tattoo in his body had been completely exhausted. Fei Ren's eyes had turned completely dark purple, and strange purple runes appeared on the surface of his skin. His aura soared, and his long hair danced in the wind. He looked like a god that had descended to the mortal world. After his Yuan power cultivation had broken through to level 8 Martial King realm, the number of Overlord demonic tattoo that he could condense had increased significantly. He could store a maximum of 50 Overlord demonic tattoo. This was a total of 15 more Overlord demonic tattoo than before. To Fei Ren, the more Overlord demonic tattoo there were, the more powerful the martial arts that he could use would be. Unlimited growth. This was the power of the divine grade martial skill, record of the Overlord of Western Chu. What a powerful Yuan power aura! It is no weaker than level 2 Mystic's sovereign realm. When he saw this scene, Hanqing's face changed slightly, and a strong sense of shock surged in his heart. Was this the true strength of the other party? Compared to Fei Ren in front of him, even he, the young master of the He clan in Tianfeng City, paled in comparison. His opponent was the true genius of the martial way. He was like the scorching sun in the sky, and Hanqing was an insignificant firefly. Sister, let's retreat. In order not to drag Fei Ren down, Hanqing's figure flashed and retreated to the edge of the prison cell, trying his best to avoid the other party's attack. Boom! When she saw this, Lily followed closely behind. At the same time, she attacked a few low-grade mechanical beasts that were harassing them. Crack crack! As if they had sensed that Fei Ren's aura was rising continuously, and that it was a serious threat to the black tortoise vermilion bird behind him, the remaining mechanical beasts in the prison cell gathered and protected the black tortoise vermilion bird behind them. It was as if they had formed a defensive array. You still want to protect this plaything and take the opportunity to revive the other mechanical beasts? When he saw this, Fei Ren's lips curled into a cold smile. However, can you stop me this time? Pooey! The power of the Overlord magic tattoo in his body completely erupted. Fei Ren opened his arms wide, and in the next moment, they turned into a fist. A heavy punch blasted out across the air, and headed straight for the army of mechanical beasts. Overlord Tornado! As Fei Ren roared, a large amount of purple light swept out in all directions. It was mixed with a boundless fist force, and in an instant, it turned into numerous tornadoes. The tornadoes whistled endlessly, and as if they were alive, they tore through the air and emitted ear-piercing sonic booms. Chi-chi-chi! Rumble! A large number of purple tornadoes attacked from all directions, bringing with them ear-piercing and terrifying whistling sounds. In an instant, they swallowed the remaining Mahist mechanical beast. Even the hard limestone floor under everyone's feet was easily shattered by the purple tornadoes, unable to escape unscathed. This attack was not only Fei Ren's current strongest martial art, but it had also consumed a total of 50 Overlord magic tattoo. Its power was comparable to a full-force attack from a rank 2 Mystic Sovereign. Gotcha! The tornadoes gradually subsided, and the dust dispersed. The scene was in ruins, and the corpses and parts of the mechanical beasts could be seen everywhere. The originally huge black tortoise and vermilion bird mechanical beasts had lost both of their legs, and they were lying on the ground. Only the ink magic stone embedded in their chests was still shining brightly, emitting boundless spiritual energy waves. Clang! The star-shattering knife in his hand stabbed into the ground. Fei Ren's body staggered and he almost fell to his knees. Has my body reached its limit? But it's finally over. Fei Ren's handsome face revealed a trace of fatigue as he panted heavily. He had already reached his limit and could not fight anymore. Although the power of the Overlord Tornado was extraordinary, and even if hundreds of Mahist mechanical beasts worked together, it would still be difficult for them to withstand it. However, this move still required a total of 50 Overlord Mageways, and the consumption of his physical strength, essence force, and Overlord Mageways was still not small. Therefore, Fei Ren could only use Overlord Tornado once in a short period of time. Moreover, it took him a lot of time to condense the Overlord Magic Tattoo, so he could not use it frequently. Other than the Divine Refining Cauldron, this move was Fei Ren's strongest trump card. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.